The lady in black welcomes this lady to Darlington, South Carolina. Danica will be among those drivers facing the challenge of a track so difficult they've run out of nicknames to describe it. Tonight, this sleepy little southern town is ready to put on a primetime show.
We see the lights and we hear the fights. It's gonna be a stunner. I got something here. If you give me one more beer, I'm going back down south now. We see the lights and we hear the fight. I'm going back down south now. I'm going back down south now. I'm going back down south.
And the weather ideal on this Saturday evening as we welcome you to Darlington Raceway. 500 plus miles of grueling competition. Yes, the track too tough to tame, and the best drivers out to try and tame it. Is this the place Jimmy Johnson gets his first win of this season? Will the pole sitter Greg Biffle break through? He's won here twice before. And what about Dale Earnhardt Jr.? Career best, 5 straight top 10s, and Danica Patrick, her second Cup race of the season. Just some of the drivers on display here in primetime. Our Hollywood Hotel in the middle of it all. This year, the path to victory lane has been full of fast drivers, wrecked cars, and damaged egos. And we'll have all that and a lot more, along with Hall of Famer Darrell Waltrip, Michael Waltrip. I'm Chris Myers, and the 11th race of the season, a real tipping point when you think about the 12 drivers who make that playoff chase at the end of the year. Which drivers on the hot seat tonight?
Well, I tell you, if you look at 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th, that cutoff line at 10th, as Ford been in the top 10 in points, Clint Boyer could be in trouble. He has no wins. Carl Edwards could be in trouble. He has no wins. But you got Brad Keselowski got 2 wins. That's almost a lock for the chase. And then you got Newman with 1 win. What they need to hope for, what Carl and Clint need to hope for is that maybe Brad gets in and they get a win, they would get that wild card spot. So there's a lot of movement right there at that cutoff point.
It's really crowded, like Darrell said. And the guy that I like to look at is Jeff Gordon. He's 23rd in the points. Not since 1994 has he been in so much trouble after 10 races. You know what he did in the 11th race in 94? He got his first ever NASCAR win, and that was the second year in Cup. So when you talk about it being crowded right there around that 10th spot, those guys better make some room for old Jeff Gordon. He's fast, and I believe he'll make a move on him.
Well, he's won here 7 times, and coming off the race in Talladega, we had the most lead changes, most leaders. If tonight's race is anything like last week, we might see a major train wreck.
Turn 3. Behind you. Landon Castle, Martin Truex, Carl Edwards.
Oh, now another problem.
Hamlin got into Allmendinger.
Oh, and they can turn. Everybody comes sliding and slamming into the inside retaining wall. Eric McClure is there and pounding hard into the inside wall.
So this on a 1.3-mile track tonight. So the mentality of drivers changing a little, but still a great risk.
You know, when you go to Talladega like we were last week, you probably think you might get in a crash. When you come to Darlington, same thing. You might rub that outside wall. You have to run within inches of it to be fast here. There's no room for error at Darlington.
Yeah, this old car we got now, it's tough, and it's made for Darlington. You can get this car we got now up against the wall. It's got all that foam on the right side. It kind of keeps the sheet metal off the tires. You can do a lot of body damage, but you can keep going. But if you get hooked, like we saw at the end of the race last year, and you get shot into that inside wall, that'll put you out of the race.
Yeah, scraping the wall, the famous Darlington stripe. You hear about it, earning your stripe here. This is in practice from yesterday.
That was the perfect Darlington stripe. He kissed the wall and kept going. This was a little prolonged. You can see the damage it did to the side of the car. Watch Danica here as she scrubs it off turn 4. Darrell, in order to be fast here, you got to be right next to the wall. But when you run into the back of someone, this place is so tight, you're going to get in the wall hard.
Yeah, Carl Edwards said it's like a dirt track. There's a cushion, which is right on the edge, and you got to ride that edge, and you jump over it, you're in the fence.
Guys have won scraping the wall. Guys have won clean without touching the wall. We'll watch that closely tonight. Meanwhile, I mentioned Jeff Gordon on the hot seat. We talked about Jimmy Johnson looking for their first win. We have 3 drivers who already have 2 wins. Brad Keselowski, who won last week, and of course at Bristol. Denny Hamlin at his Toyota, won in Phoenix and in Kansas. The defending champ Tony Stewart won in Las Vegas. and in Fontana, but a little bit frustrated lately. What does that tell you about the 3 guys with 2 wins?
Well, they're solid because of the bonus system in NASCAR, how you can get into the chase because of your wins. And plus, those guys are fast. Keselowski, an aggressive driver who's learned how to contain that aggression and race for points as well. So I like where all 3 of those guys are in the points right now.
I think it's interesting that Tony Stewart and Hamlin have new crew chiefs. That they swap. You know, Tony's got Addington over there, and Darian went over with Hamlin. I think that's interesting. But Brad, like Michael said, he's just learned how to kind of temper that aggression that he's had. He's learned how to play well with others.
And it takes a little while to learn that. You got to be in the garage area for a couple of years, rub elbows with guys. Maybe they'll catch a little bit of a break if they know you a little bit.
We're going to hear from Brad Keselowski later in the show, and also from Danica Patrick as well. As we count you down to the start of tonight's race, we pause to honor a great American racing icon. Carroll Shelby passed away Thursday evening at the age of 89. He raced sports cars and F1, then created cars we all dreamed of driving. Mike Joy remembers.
Carroll Shelby won at Le Mans, but a heart ailment ended his stellar driving career, so he turned car maker, marrying Britain's AC sports car to Ford's V8. The Cobra raced its way to championships and into legend, some valued today in millions of dollars. The Cobra spawned a succession of Shelby Mustang supercars that continue to win on the track and in the marketplace. A charismatic entrepreneur, Carroll Shelby was our generation's greatest promoter of high performance.
The boys are ready to have at it this week. But not to be slighted, the First Lady of NASCAR makes her return. Last year, it was no holds barred between the closer and Wild Thing. On-track drama led to the gloves coming off once the checkered flag flew. The big one learned late last week, causing mayhem for many. Making his way through, it was Bad Brad who rolled home with his 2nd win of the season. Tonight, you better be ready, because the Lady in Black awaits.
Welcome back inside the Hollywood Hotel. Going into the Daytona 500, Brad Keselowski had 65,000 followers on Twitter, then a fire on the track, a handy cell phone, a few photos tweeted. Now Brad has over 250,000 followers, and the 42 drivers who followed him in Bristol and in Talladega.
An impressive winning move at Talladega. The next item on the agenda, one of NASCAR's crown jewel events, the Southern 500. So many iconic names have scored a win in this race. What's the biggest challenge standing between you and that impressive list?
The track itself, but then you had 42 other competitors out there, and this is quite a place. But I love coming here. This track's been good to me. Hopefully it'll stay that way. And you got to push hard, but you got to know when to push. And you push too hard, you end up in that wall, and that's going to end your day. 2 wins. Can you now be even more aggressive, knowing that the wild card spot at least is going to be yours? Well, I don't know how to be much more aggressive than I've already been. So, you know, at a place that really people say you've got to be patient. you definitely have to be patient. You know, it takes bounce. You got to be aggressive at times. You got to be patient at times, and just got to know when to turn it on, when to turn it off. The last time, Chris, that Penske Racing scored a win here at Darlington, 1975. Bobby Allison, Hall of Famer, in an AMC Matador.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. Very refreshing. Brad, he doesn't worry about consistency. He goes for wins.
No, but he's from a racing family. He's seen it all. But you know what I like most? Last week he said, I dreamed about making that move. I'm not sure what it was. I don't know. Yeah. He said he made a move in 3. I'll take his word for it. But he dreamed about it.
You know what I think surprised me the most about it? When he broke loose from Kyle Busch and won that race at Talladega, they didn't make a run on him. Anytime we've seen 2 guys pushing and they come loose, here comes everyone. Maybe Brad said, I must have done something special. They didn't come get me.
I wonder what he's dreaming about for tonight. Drivers treat this track with reverence and revenge, as tough as it is. Last year, Regan Smith became the 6th driver to claim his first career victory here at Darlington. To the victor goes the spoils and a chance to host a fast trip down memory lane.
Darlington. It's the very center of a small city in South Carolina. A snapshot of the very history of NASCAR. Dreamed up by a local businessman, built on an old peanut and cotton field. It's a super speedway, but with a short track mind. Treacherous, evil, and tricky. They've all been ways to describe it. The first green flag waved 62 years ago. They were expecting 10,000 fans. Over 25,000 showed up, and Darlington Raceway hasn't looked back since. One of NASCAR's crown jewels. Getting to victory lane here is on every driver's bucket list. This track is also home to one of the closest finishes in NASCAR.
It's going to be a drag race.
How close?
What a finish!
About that close. But history aside, you know what really makes Darlington special? It's the action that happens right here on the track where anything can happen. Including a driver from upstate New York, racing for a single car team, getting his first career win. Defending champ, huh? Kind of like the sound of that one.
No rookie has ever won here. Carl Edwards said when he first came here, he prepared more for this track than any other.
You know what I like about this place? The lady in black is not happy till you're not happy.
Yeah, you want to win at Daytona and you want to win at Darlington in NASCAR, and that's the two crown jewels.
It ranks that high, racing at its very best, at its roots. Coming up, we'll count you down to the start of the race, 501 miles here in Darlington, and there is the lady in green, Danica Patrick. We'll talk live with her, starting 38th in the field tonight. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. We're live in South Carolina. NASCAR on Fox pre-race show is sponsored by GoDaddy.com, domains, websites, and everything in between. Getting ready for the start of the Bojangles Southern 500. Glad you're watching NASCAR on Fox Primetime. And back in the Hollywood Hotel, a winning driver in the IndyCar Series, Danica Patrick, on her way full-time in NASCAR. Her Stewart-Haas car, the number 10. That's how old she was when she actually started racing. She also set a Super Bowl TV appearance record with 10 commercials. But tonight, she's endorsing Darlington. We welcome the driver of the GoDaddy.com car, Danica Patrick, to our show. And thanks for being with us, Danica. Get ready to roll. What are your expectations tonight?
I'm trying to keep them tempered. Of course, I want to do well, but I realize this is definitely going to be difficult. I was happy with the way it went in the Nationwide car last night, but this is a whole new beast. These drivers are extremely good all the way through the field, and the cars are another level of difficulty. So I hope to. Some people might argue with my order of how I put these two, but first and foremost, I would like to just be respectable out there, relatively competitive. I don't need to be extremely fast, but just I don't want to look like I'm out of place. And then number 2, finish. So most people probably would think it might be the other way around, but I just want to run okay, and then get to the end so I get a feel for the full race distance in one of these cars.
Hey, Danica, it's Michael. I talked to you in the garage yesterday afternoon, and you said, what the heck am I doing here? What's going on? That was after a Darlington stripe. But then after that race last night, man, you've got to be feeling really confident going into the race tonight.
Oh, thank you. I'm feeling a little bit better in the sense that from practice to the race in the Nationwide car, the pace definitely came down a little bit. And, it's going to come down to taking care of your equipment a little bit, not only with hitting the wall, but also your tires. I went through 3 and 4 one time with a good power slide, and I went into 1 and 2 after that, and I was really loose, so I had to back it off and cool the tires down. And so I feel like those kinds of things are things that I enjoy the discipline of. So I know it's going to be even more difficult in these cars with more horsepower and getting into the corner even quicker, but I think that some of the things that need to be done today play into my hand a little bit, and hopefully that will get us a reasonable result for the GoDaddy car.
Hey, Danica, it's DW. Now, listen, you were in the car yesterday between the Cup car and the Nationwide car. You were in the car yesterday 8 hours, and you got about a 4-hour race looking you in the face tonight. How are you feeling, and how did you prepare for this weekend?
I'm so glad you said it's only going to be 4 hours. I thought it was going to take 5. So good. Phew, I'm feeling so much better. It's definitely, well, I think it seemed a little bit more dramatic than it really is. Last night was a really short race for us in Nationwide car, and tonight's a little bit of a longer race than normal in the Cup cars. And so it seems a bit different, but it's definitely a long one. I've only done, well, let's see, there's been, I've done 7 Indy 500s and 1 Daytona 500, which I didn't completely do all of. So I haven't done very many 500 lap races, but I think that long races play into my hand. Again, another discipline that I enjoy. And I think it's going to be a great experience for me, especially going into the Coke 600 in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll see you then. Before we let you go, along those lines, can we assume you'll be full-time in Cup next year?
If you like.
I'll work on that. I think we do like it.
I would.
Good answer.
I'm very flattered. Thank you. I think that's definitely a goal. So hopefully everything goes well, and all this difficult practice at places like Darlington will pay off in the future.
All right, we'll be watching tonight. Good luck. Thanks, Danica.
Thanks a lot.
And we will see her at the Coke 600 in a couple of weeks on Fox. Finished 38th at Daytona. Remember, she got caught up early in the wreck, starting 38th tonight. We'll have more from Darlington in a moment. Hoping for a little magic tonight in prime time, Dale Earnhardt Jr., 6 straight top 10 finishes, equaling his career best from 2004 and hanging in there 3rd in points as we welcome you back inside the Hollywood Hotel. No pole sitter has won this year. Greg Biffle on the pole. He's never won from the pole in his career. Currently our points leader. Time now for Gas and Go. You're on the clock.
That way, Matt Bell.
If you have questions,
get that over there.
They have answers. Darrell, what are the chances the winless streak? Tony Stewart's never won on this track. Kentucky the other one, but in terms of a full-time track, he's won everywhere else. Can he do it tonight?
See, this track is an irritating place to race, and he doesn't like that. He gets irritated real easily, and I think that's one of the reasons why he hadn't won here. He just needs to calm down a little bit, race the track, and don't worry about everybody else, and he'll be fine. All
right, for Jimmy Johnson, his longest winless streak to start a season, 11 races. We know he's up there in points. Why aren't they happening for him in victories?
You know, it's interesting. When he won those championships, he didn't go through victory droughts, and he won 5 of those. So last year he had a victory drought as well. I think this team, it's more about the team, Hendrick Motorsports. None of the cars have been to victory lane. They've had speed, but something's missing there.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's led the most laps this year. Jeff Gordon has led the 2nd most laps, and that leads me into another question for you. Is it a lost season for Gordon? You pointed out he's 23rd in points and time running out.
Yeah, I don't think it is a lost season for Jeff because of that speed I just talked about and the fact that he has led all of those laps. He gets a couple of wins, he can squeeze himself into the chase and make something out of this year.
All right, Darrell, for you, would Cale Yarborough, we know he's a 5-time winner here, he's a South Carolina guy, would he be a winner today driving these kinds of cars against these guys?
Cale Yarborough would love these cars. You know, the guys all say they drive like the cars from back in the day, and Cale was the best there was at manhandling a car, wrestling a car around the racetrack. He knew nothing about a car. He just knew how to steer one. That's all he knew, and he was great.
And that number 11, Denny Hamlin, part of the weekend here with the Hall of Fame inductee, kind of celebrating the retro car and the look. All right, for both of you, this is from our viewers. You can send your questions to NASCAR on Fox using the hashtag #GasAndGo or through Twitter. Dustin from Virginia wants to know, is winning the Southern 500 as prestigious as winning Daytona or Indianapolis? Where do you rank it?
Well, from a fan standpoint of view, they'd probably say, how could it be? But from a driver's standpoint of view, we take great pride in winning this race. This is a driver's track. It's difficult. It's challenging. It's all the things that drivers like to be able to say they overcame, and you can only have that here at Darlington.
Yeah, you touched on it earlier. You rank it up there, right?
Yeah, it's way up there, right behind Daytona in my book, but I never did win the Southern 500, so maybe that's why I like Daytona better.
You won there twice. Hey, as we wind this up and the clock is out, what kind of driver, fans always ask, is Danica Patrick at the Cup level?
Danica is smart. She listens, she absorbs. She got a lot of people giving her information, and she takes it and uses it. She doesn't ignore it. She doesn't say, I don't need that. She takes that information and uses it.
I just like her eyeballs. She's looking intense all the time, and to drive a race car, you better be intense.
You heard her strategy for tonight. We're getting ready to start things. Darrell heads up to the booth, and we'll be back here in just a moment. Points leader Greg Biffle, the only driver in a Ford in this race who has won on this track. A 2-time winner here in Darlington, the 109th race in South Carolina.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we ask that you please rise and remove your hats as the South Carolina Air National Guard presents our nation's colors. And now please join us in a moment of silence as we honor the memory of Carroll Shelby, the legendary car designer, racer, and motorsports icon who passed away on Thursday at the age of 89. Please remain standing as Pastor Mark Jones from the First Baptist Church of Darlington offers tonight's invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing us here tonight to Darlington, South Carolina, to be a part of this tremendous racing tradition, the Bojangles Southern 500. Father, thank you so much for our mothers, because they have meant so much to us. Father, give us a great race tonight and let everyone go home safely. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Nashville-based recording artist Casey Weston.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets recognize the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
You can choose which of the top 4 qualifiers will finish best in today's race. Text FAST to 34763 or go to AT&TFastestDriver.com. You'll have a chance to win $4,000. Brought to you by the nation's largest 4G network, AT&T. We'll have tweets throughout the race from Michael Waltrip. Darrell Waltrip talks with Dale Earnhardt Jr. from down on the track in just a moment. Track is tough enough in Darlington, but when drivers go at it, even after the race, well, that's something else. Kevin Harvick was asked about Kyle Busch this week, remember, after their incident last year, and Kevin Harvick said, I don't talk to Kyle Busch or about Kyle Busch. Enough said. Here in South Carolina, in case you're wondering exactly where Darlington is, if you haven't been fortunate enough to be here and attend or enjoy and watch the race in person, take a close look. About 75 miles from the capital of the state. See where Charlotte is, the home office for NASCAR's Hall of Fame, and many of the drivers, and Atlanta, not too far off in the distance. In his University of Farmers report, our Jeff Hammond went old school and stepped just outside this track and right into the Darlington Race Museum.
Cars that will be racing at Darlington today have been built to withstand about any kind of crash that has the driver walk away. But the guy who won the original Darlington race, well, let's check out his car. Johnny Mance was the driver of this Plymouth back in 1950, the inaugural winner. But can you believe the only thing that was ever changed on this car were the spark plugs and the tires? And the car was purchased right off the showroom floor in Florence, South Carolina, right down the road. Totally amazing. So from Johnny Mance to the night's winner, the storied history of Darlington continues.
Thanks, Jeff. Farmers Insurance runs a great campaign around their Twitter hashtag Farmers5 for their driver Casey Kane in the 5 car. Here's a tweet. Casey Kane will win based on his performance in the past few weeks. He really is fast this week from Jazzy 5 Kane. Kane starting 3rd tonight. Along with Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers here in the Hollywood Hotel, where we will enjoy the race. We've talked about Danica. We've talked about Greg Biffle, the pole sitter. Jimmy Johnson starting on the front row, his best position. Who do you like tonight's race?
I'm going to agree with Jazzy 5 Kane. that Casey Kane gets the win tonight.
Okay.
He was 4th here a year ago. He led the most laps here a year ago. 4 straight top 10s. He'll be fast tonight.
A.J. Allmendinger fastest in final practice. A guy who's been fastest in final practice has not won this year. Neither has a pole sitter. That's unfortunate news, but Team Hendrick trying to get a victory. And this being Mother's Day weekend, appropriate that NASCAR moms give the command. And I don't mean clean your room. I mean this.
In honor of Mother's Day weekend, please join me in welcoming the mothers of our NASCAR drivers as they deliver the most famous words in motorsports.
Really well done. No such thing as a non-working mother. And to all the moms out there, we appreciate every day all that you do. And all of us wish all of you an early happy Mother's Day. So let's head upstairs. Daryl, Larry, and Mike. And I know you want to wish all the moms in your families a happy Mother's Day.
Absolutely, Chris. Hi, everybody. Happy Mother's Day weekend. We know why this track is so difficult. The groove is so narrow. The margin for error between the racing groove and the wall is so small. But Daryl, why does it mean so much to have won a race at Darlington?
Well, every lap around here is an adventure. It's a challenge. And as a driver, a former driver, I know how it feels to win at a place that's hard, a place that's challenging, a place that you've got to overcome so much. And at this track, it tests everything. It tests your patience. It tests your skill. It tests your fortitude. It tests your heart. Do you have a heart to win here tonight? It's a great racetrack. It's a fun place to win. It's at the top of my list.
Larry, every driver has to battle every other car, but why do drivers here feel that they have another competitor besides the other drivers?
Well, I think our 4-time Sprint Cup Series champion, Jeff Gordon, put it best this week. He said, every week I go to a racetrack, I know if I want to win the race and go to victory lane, I have to beat 42 other drivers. When I go to Darlington, I still have those 42 drivers, but I have one more competitor. It's Darlington Raceway. Biggest thing, 62 years ago, it was built and open for speeds around 100 miles an hour. Tonight, speeds almost at 180 miles an hour.
The track too tough to tame. 43 NASCAR drivers will battle the Lady in Black. Live, you're watching NASCAR on Fox from Darlington.
I'm Danica Patrick, GoDaddy girl and driver of the GoDaddy number 10. I want to welcome you to NASCAR on Fox, live from Darlington, presented by GoDaddy.com. But first, a very happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Thank you for everything you do, and Mom, this one's for you. Now, let's race.
The toughest track of them all, Darlington Raceway.
Run down, they touch, they bump, trading sheet metal.
So much history and more to be made this evening. This egg-shaped speedway conceived in 1949 and first raced on in 1950. NASCAR on Fox presented by GoDaddy.com with tonight's NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race, the Bojangles Southern 500. As they come around behind the pace car, the Geico starting grid has Greg Biffle winning his second Darlington pole, his second of the season, and Jimmy Johnson, a 2-time Darlington winner, on the front row. Casey Kane gets his 5th top 3 start here. The others were poles. Ryan Newman, 8th top 5 start at Darlington. Kyle Busch, the 2008 winner, and Martin Truex Jr. in his first top 10 start here. Carl Edwards, 3rd straight race with a start of 7th or better, and the 2010 champion of this race, Denny Hamlin. Regan Smith, last year's winner, and Jeff Burton, who swept both Darlington Cup races in '99. Jamie McMurray, second here 2 years ago. Jeff Gordon, 7 victories at Darlington, most of anyone in the field. Eric Almirola makes his first Sprint Cup Darlington start. Paul Menard, his best effort here. and Brad Keselowski, who got his second win of the season last week, next to his teammate, A.J. Allmendinger.
Let's see if we can talk to the man starting 24th. Dale Jr. at CW, you got a copy, buddy?
Sir.
Hey, man, you're starting 24th. What's your strategy here for getting up to the front?
Well, we're going to take it easy here for a little bit, a couple laps anyways. There'll be some big checkups for the first lap or two, but we got a pretty fast car. Hopefully the things underneath me, all new tires, pretty good, so we can go after them and get through a few spots there, pick up a few on pit road. We've been really, really great on pit road all year. So hopefully the boys get us a few spots there and just methodically get toward the front as the night goes.
Well, you know, I love that car. It's one of my favorites. Did you have your due before you rolled off?
I have a do every day. We also got new promotion this week. The DoCrew.com fans, you need to go check that out. If you're on Junior Nation, you need to go to DoCrew.com and see all the cool stuff they got there. But yeah, we've been drinking plenty of Diet Dew, and we're ready to go.
If I remember right, you were in the Dew Crew back when you were a little guy. But anyway, good luck tonight, man.
Thank you.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. rolls off 24th. Let's get some late breaking stories from pit road, beginning with Dick Berggren.
Well, thanks, Mike. Greg Biffle has led the championship points for the majority of this season here at Darlington. He has been incredibly fast. Starts on the pole. The two-time winner has a simple strategy: keep it in the top 5 until the end, and then win this thing. Steve Burns.
Well, Jimmy Johnson has a good starting position as well. Now, his crew chief, Chad Canals, told me there's a lot of speed in this track right now. There's also a lot of sand, a lot of dust. He said they're going to take it easy early in. Chris Devoda.
Steve, Carl Edwards told me he's been waiting ever since that last restart in this race last year to come back and, quote, finish what he started. They start 7th. He has as good a shot as anyone. Matt Yoakum.
Jeff Gordon rolls off 12th, finds himself in a perilous position in the points back in 23rd, but he needs to pull off a Brad Keselowski performance. A year ago, Keselowski was 26th in points coming in Darlington, won races, scored a spot in the chase. Gordon could pick a better spot, Jeff Hammond, 7 wins to get that rolling here in Darlington.
And Matt, I'm down here in turn 1, where Hall of Fame driver called this turn the most exciting turn in all of NASCAR. Not just because it's narrow and tricky, but because it's got a great passing zone. And if a driver can protect the crossover tonight, well, it'll probably carry him or her on the victory lane. Mike?
Tonight's race is brought to you by Budweiser, the beer that starts with full flavor and ends with a crisp, fast finish. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. It is a beautiful evening in the PD region of South Carolina. Temperature still in the high 70s, only a light breeze and a few high clouds. They'll go 500 miles tonight, 367 laps.
Pit road speed 45 miles per hour. A tough pit road to get on under green fuel window, 56 to 60 laps. That can become a chess match late in this race.
Light is out atop the Toyota safety car. A wide track apron, a narrow racing groove. There they are up in turns 3 and 4. NASCAR's toughest racetrack. That wall was all rough black last night with tires up against the wall. Here we go for 500 miles.
Most apprehensive start of the year right here. This place really, really makes you nervous. Flagman's got the flag behind his back. He's holding them back. He's holding them back. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys and Danica.
Diving into turn number 1, Biffle from the point, the lead from Johnson. Looking up too wide all the way back through the pack and down the back straightaway. Kane settles into 3rd. Newman 4th, Busch 5th. And by turn 3, the first dozen are single file. Greg Biffle from the pole leads the first lap in his Ford. Jeff Gordon, Jamie Mack, Paul Menard on the outside in the 27 and Allmendinger scuffle.
Boy, I tell you, that 51 car, Kurt Busch, I never saw a guy pass so many cars in one lap. He was outside, inside, and he is on the move.
He was taking advantage of those 4 fresh tires at the drop of the green flag. There you see Kurt right there, currently in the 22nd position.
Look up to the outside of Logano.
He made that outside work. Mike Larry, he went on the outside and he got about 5 in one lap.
He kind of played some of the same moves in last night's race.
Well, he's got it going.
11th place, Jeff Burton on the high side gives way to McMurray.
Smart racing right there. That's Darlington at its finest. Let that guy go.
Here comes Keselowski to the inside of Menard. Last week's winner inside of bringing Tony Stewart with him and maybe Eric Almirola in the 43.
You just got to be really, really, really smart right now. This is no time to play games. Somebody's better than you are. You got to let them go or they'll run over you.
Almirola and Matt Kenseth in the 17. Eric up high. Matt steals the spot.
That's a lot of drivers that we felt like would have much better race cars than what they had qualifying cars. We felt like they'd be going to the front, just like Kevin Harvick in the 29 they were riding with.
Yeah, you get down on that inside in turn 1 and 2, and you can ride that guy on the outside up a little bit and make a nice pass.
Harvick was fastest in practice, but only qualified 23rd. He said the car was fine. Driver made a mistake. He works under Almirola, picks up the spot.
This place will do that to you, Mike. You just never are sure what you got. It's always changing.
Jimmy Johnson begins to close it up on Greg Biffle just a bit. He has a big cushion back to his teammate Casey Kane in 3rd. 19th place, Almirola, Kurt Busch. They're at the back of that pack and looking for more.
I know this is a contradiction to some degree, but you have to let people go. But you got to be careful of letting too many people go, or the first thing you know, you'll find yourself in danger of going a lap down.
Johnson's coming. None of Rick Hendrick's 4 drivers have been to victory lane this year, and no one knows that more than 5-time champion Jimmy Johnson, who draws a bead on Biffle for the lead. And Biffle's 2 wins here. In both occasions, he led more than 170 laps.
It's been such a winless spell for Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car all the way back to Kansas last October, the last time Jimmy went to victory lane.
Well, Darrell, catching him here is one thing, but passing him?
Mike, it's an anticipation thing. You can't, there are certain places on this track you just can't pass people. You don't want to run up on a guy in a no passing zone. Coming off at 2 over there, you want to time it. You want to get a run on them and try to pass them down the straightaway into the corner.
Matt Kenseth goes to work on the 31 of Jeff Burton. This is for 15th place. And Kenseth makes the pass. He started 19th. Dick Bergman.
Greg Biffle has just told his crew on the radio that he has a vibration. He has had it from the start. He's worried that it could be a tire. That's likely a loose tire. We have actually heard a lot of reports all weekend long about drivers experiencing different types of vibration.
And Larry, one thing that bothers me a little bit, they run the air pressures really low on this racetrack at the speeds they're running. And you let that inner liner down inside that tire, if you get the air too low in it, it'll actually shake inside that tire. That may be some of the problems.
Now 39, Ryan Newman had been losing touch with the leaders, so when Kyle Busch came right up to his back bumper, he let Busch go. Now Newman's got to try to fend off the 56 of Martin Truex to hold on to 5th.
Martin Truex Jr. in that 56 car coming off of a couple of rough runs at Richmond and Talladega. Looks like he's been pretty solid here for the last couple of days.
Yeah, Larry, he started the season with so much hope. It looked like he was right on the verge of winning a race, and then the bottom just fell out the last couple of weeks.
Matt Yoakum.
And Ryan Newman just trying to pace himself right now and hold on to that spot, Mike. He's not bad down at 3 and 4, but he just told Tony Gibson, I am extremely loose down at 1 and 2, and especially on exit.
I know it's subtle, but 1 and 2 has 25 degrees of banking. 3 and 4 only has 23 degrees of banking, and they're shaped differently. The car can be totally different on each end of the speedway.
And here comes Kurt Busch, 1 week removed from that Ricky Bobby me paint scheme that he had so much fun with at Talladega. No, the Cougar's not in the car this week. They're going to auction it for the Armed Forces Foundation for charity. But Busch is on the move. He's picked up 8 spots.
He's driving like he's in there with him. I can tell you that. He has passed a lot of race cars since the drop of the green.
laps ago. Watch the 51 of Kurt Busch go to work on Paul Menard.
Guess where he probably is going to go. Sort of trying to go through the middle, but there wasn't enough room.
But I think Kurt Busch in that 51 car knows that even though we're only 10 races into the season, 25th in the points, going to be tough to make the chase, so go out and win races.
Right. Paul Menard showing a little bit loose there again as Joey Logano slips underneath and makes the pass. 18th place. Greg Biffle has led every one of 13 laps so far in Darlington.
NASCAR on Fox is presented by GoDaddy.com. Domains, websites, and everything in between.
Greg Biffle, your leader after 20 green flag laps. Jimmy Johnson 3/10 back, and Casey Kane has come into the picture less than 1 second from the race leader. There's Kane's look at Jimmy Johnson just ahead as the leaders begin to get into lap traffic.
The pace has already dropped off 2 seconds. Not 2/10, 2 seconds.
Now we listened in on Danica Patrick and team pre-green during the pace laps.
Something to think about for green flag stops. I noticed last night the guys that were making up a lot of time from there, they were all over the gas pedal, getting all the way up to the back straightaways.
Yeah, it was really hard to see the yellow line last night in the race. It was very difficult.
Simple.
Getting onto pit road, there's that yellow line.
Yeah, and when we say that it funnels down into the pit road, look how it does. It drives. You come off the track way back here, but then it just funnels down, and look how narrow we get right here getting into the pit lane. And the cone is right here. So there's a lot that goes on in a very short period of time right there.
And down there on that apron is very dirty. It's flat, and there's no grip down there.
A lot of sand and dirt accumulate down there.
First Darlington stripe of the evening goes to our defending Southern 500 champion Regan Smith. Watch the black car.
You know, we've seen that over and over and over again right there at that same spot.
Here's how Jeff Gordon saw it.
I'd say it looked like he was right up behind. Who was that in front of him? Ryan Newman. He maybe lost the nose just a little bit, and the car pushed into the wall with him.
And that loss of momentum carries Jeff Gordon forward into 9th. Smith stands 10th, just in front of Tony Stewart.
I was going to say, Tony Stewart in that 14 car started back in the 17th position. Think about it. Outside of Kentucky that we've only run 1 race at, this is the only track on the Sprint Cup Series schedule he's not won a Sprint Cup Series race.
And I was serious when I said this is an aggravating place to race. You get irritated here. You get mad at you can't get by people. You're fighting the track. You're fighting conditions all the time. And Tony, he doesn't have a lot of patience when it comes to that kind of a situation. He gets annoyed. He gets a little upset. And I think that hurts him here.
They'll all need patience tonight to deal with this racetrack. David Rudiman started 41st. Now he's not in the number 10. That's Danica's ride tonight. He's in the BK Racing number 93. He's getting 9 spots, and so has Kurt Busch. David Gilliland, Reed Sorensen, J.J. Yaley moving up.
You know what? When it has not changed. You come here, you stay off that wall, you don't tear up your race car. At the end of the night, you might be a lap or 2 down, but you'll be in the top 20.
Biffle continues to lead from Jimmy Johnson, half a second back. Steve Burns.
Well, Mike, D.W. Wright noting that the times are starting to fall off. Jimmy Johnson of the 48 said, I started snug, but I'm already starting to free up. Chad Canals responded by saying 10-4, keep those rear tires under you.
And that really seems to be a product of this tire that we're running now. When the track cools down and gains grip, it's almost like the drivers get looser with their race cars.
All right, Casey Kane, 3rd, closes up on Johnson. Kyle Busch Looks to work his way underneath Danica Patrick, who's gone a lap down, Matt.
Mike knew exactly what her coach and boss, Tony Stewart, told her pre-race. They sat down with a map of Darlington and critiqued her nationwide race from last night. Told her what she did wrong, but also what she did right. They said the biggest thing you've got to watch how this race will progress and how the track will change. But the most important thing, just log laps. Tonight is all about learning, just like last night.
And I said in the pre-race show, I'll say it again. She pays closer attention and absorbs more information than anybody I've ever seen. She's very astute. She's very smart. When somebody tells her something, she says, okay, I believe you, and I'm going to try to utilize that information.
You saw Kurt Busch passing Jamie McMurray. Busch moving up into the top 15.
And just think of the people that are helping Danica. Tony Stewart, Dale Jr., Greg Zipadelli, some of the best minds in this business, and you got to pay attention to them.
Greg Biffle trying to become the first pole sitter to win in NASCAR in quite a long time.
Stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
NASCAR on Fox, presented by GoDaddy.com, is sponsored by Sprint. Avoid a data dilemma with truly unlimited data. Go to sprint.com/speed. By KFC, come in today and taste why fresh is better. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Greg Biffle trying to become the first Sprint Cup driver in 28 races to win from the pole. Ryan Newman last year at New Hampshire, the last to do it, and he just got a little bit impatient with the 93 of David Rudiman and gave him a bump in the backstretch, so Rudiman would pull aside and go a lap down.
Sometimes you got to do that here because a car that's a second slower and you can hold you up. You got to get by him.
Greg Biffle said this week that he and his team, they have worked for about a month preparing for this race at Darlington. So far, everything's right on track.
Jimmy Johnson second, Casey Kane third. In fourth, Kyle Busch. At present, he's our Toyota top performer with Martin Truex right behind him, and Denny Hamlin in seventh. In the garage, Cole Witt, first car out of the race. Rookie Josh Wise, Scott Speed, Mike Skinner debuting the Hamilton Means team this week. And now Joe Nemechek and David Stremme have gone to the garage.
You know, Darrell, when I watch Kyle Busch and we know his driving style, it kind of suits Darlington. You attack this place, right?
Yeah, he likes to dare. He's one of those guys that I dare you to do something, you know. And I dare you to see how close you can get to that wall without. It's a contest with him between the track and driving.
Now, after last night's 200-mile race that had plenty of carnage, Speedway crews worked all night repainting the walls at Darlington in red and white and all the sponsor logos. And look at turn 3 and turn 2 now. They've all been blackened up again already, and we're only 40 laps into this race.
So I will ask you, Mr. Historian, do you know why they call this the Lady in Black?
Tell me.
Because of the black walls when the race is over with. They painted them white back in the day, and when the race was over with, they were solid black. She became the Lady in Black.
Boy, Darrell, Jimmy Johnson is running an interesting groove, especially down in 3 and 4. He's almost down on the apron as Greg Biffle continues to run the normal. Even he's a little bit lower than Greg down at the other end.
I believe that's because his car might be a little too tight, Larry. He needs a little bit of sliding room here. You got to kind of have some, and again, you anticipate everything. You got to anticipate where things going to end up.
But if this is normal, and I love the aerial coverage, as they run the groove on this track, Darrell, you are so close to the wall.
Oh yeah, I think Hammond did I don't know if he's done it yet or not. Somebody 24 just got in the wall turn 4, guys. I don't know how hard. I just saw him slow way down.
And Jeff Gordon's right side
got a lot of damage right
is
there.
All a mess.
Yeah.
He's running in the 8th position right now.
Got into it pretty good. And this, that tells you something about how tough this joint is, because he is one of the masters here. But you see right here, just like we said, you run so close.
So close and so fast.
And that's a little too close. That's big hit.
Oh, Darrell's just like a new baseball glove. Just breaking it in.
Yeah.
Matt Yoakum.
And you saw the good Darlington stripe off the wall in 3 and 4. Gordon says the car absolutely tight, and it's much worse when he's in dirty air and traffic. They're going to make some significant adjustments in about another 10 to 12 laps or so when they hit pit road.
For the lead, here comes Johnson on the bottom. Casey Mears is the car ahead of race leader Greg Biffle. And since it's hard enough to pass here, let alone lap people on the narrow racing groove, Johnson drops back in line. Steve.
And the message from Chad Canals to Jimmy Johnson is you are absolutely crushing them in turns 1 and 2.
Well, Greg Biffle got held up and almost got in trouble with Casey Mears in that 13 car. Jimmy Johnson pulled right back up there again. I think that line that Jimmy Johnson's running in 3 and 4, he's almost found a little something right now.
A little grip down there. This track really rubbers up right out next to the wall. That's where everybody runs. If you can get down there like he is on that apron, hook that left side tire, see how gray that is down there? Little grip. Get up off that corner.
What he found right there was a mirror full of Casey Kane.
But you see what happens too when you run that low line, you come off the corner, that back end wants to snap around with you. You got to be careful with that.
That is definitely an unorthodox groove, and unlike last week at Talladega, there is no out of bounds here. The track is defined by the walls on either side.
But you see how much momentum you lose when you do get down on the bottom like that. There is grip down there, but it bogs you down so bad. You just saw Casey Kane roll around the outside.
Pit stops begin a few laps early. Brad Keselowski is the first of the contenders to come to pit road, working lap 47.
And Darrell mentioned that the pace had slowed down 2+ seconds. With Brad Keselowski in the 2 hitting pit road, I think we'll see an epidemic. You can't sit out there and just keep running on old tires. Matt.
And Larry Mack, a lot of people looking to short pit here. Keselowski, the car was really good the first part of the run, but then the balance went away, especially starting to go tight. Down at 3 and 4. Good stop so far, trying to make it back-to-back wins here at the Blue Deuce.
Regan Smith, Paul Menard in the pit lane along with Kevin Harvick and Bobby Labonte. Green flag stops here. Marcus Ambrose is in. Steve.
Kevin Harvick saying very tight in the front, but the rear end of the car is loose. He says why not or will not turn in the center of the corners at either end.
Kyle Busch comes to the pits out of 4th place. Mark Martin's stop is done. AJ Allmendinger in. Dick.
And Regan Smith on the right side of your screen, last year's winner, said the car is loose. What a surprise. Matt.
And Kyle Busch already in. He said the car balance-wise was really bad near the end of that run. Just loose both ends of the racetrack.
Kurt Busch, Dale Jr. and Jeff Burton. And here comes Biffle, the race leader, to pit road. Montoya is in and McMurray.
Yep. Kurt Busch in. He said basically at the beginning of that run, Mike, the car absolutely loose, and then it migrated the grip, no grip to the front, absolutely tight. He was telling the team they've got to make some significant changes on this stop to keep up with the track.
Tony Stewart, Ryan Newman, teammates on pit road. Dick.
And Greg Biffle, who has one of the best crews in all of NASCAR racing. The car has changed. It was tight in the beginning, then it went loose. That's nothing unusual for here in Darlington. Steve.
But Dick, Tony Stewart exiting pit road, saying the car was really tight in 3 and 4. Opposite condition in 1 and 2, loose. Krista.
Martin Truex says he's been loose everywhere with some tight spots. His biggest issue, he said, I'm so free off 4. That's where I need help. Dick.
And Casey Kane started in the 3rd position, has been running in the 3rd position for the majority of this race. They're going to have to adjust the car to get it where he wants it. Matt.
Solid Darlington stripe on the right side, work already completed. Now on the left. Gordon said as soon as he took his foot off the brake, the car just started to take off. Steve?
Jimmy Johnson hits his marks perfectly, Matt. Small chassis adjustment for the 48. He also said that the splitter had been hitting the track just a little bit, not upsetting the car terribly. 4 tires for Jimmy Johnson, and he's away.
During this round of green flag pit stops, Jimmy Johnson led some laps. Here's Matt.
And Danica Patrick brings the 10 car in. Rick Pigeon going to work, filling the car with fuel. Patrick said the car, the worst issue that she had was exit of turn 2. The car absolutely taking off, wicked loose. Work complete.
The leader, Landon Castle, in one of 3 BK Racing entries this week. He will surrender the lead. Casey Kane and Jimmy Johnson also led during this exchange of green flag stops. Now, Greg Biffle was the leader by 0.3 of a second prior to stops, but Kyle Busch is going to emerge as the new race leader.
And that supports what we were talking about. He was one of the first drivers to come to pit road and got advantage with those 4 fresh tires over Biffle and Johnson.
Very good place to pass.
First round of pit stops complete. 52 green flag laps in the book in Darlington.
NASCAR on Fox, presented by GoDaddy.com, is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds.
.58 green flag laps complete out of 367. Kyle Busch is the leader, picking up the lead on the exchange during green flag pit stops.
Now this is 2 laps, including the green flag pit stop. It's crossed the start finish line, coming back to pit road. You see right there, Kyle Busch, the 3rd quickest, Denny Hamlin the quickest, Greg Biffle not even on this. What I saw was Kyle Busch's pit stop was a second quicker than Greg Biffle, and his time driving on pit road was a half a second. Plus, like I said, he pitted a lap earlier than Greg Biffle, and that's the reason he's leading this race.
And here's Denny Hamlin looking inside Bobby Labonte as Kyle Busch works on Ambrose.
And there's the biggie right there. That's the actual pit stop, but you can also see Kyle Busch himself was just a little bit quicker than Greg Biffle as far as getting on and off pit road.
Yeah, Larry, I watched, and it's such a fine line down there getting down off the racetrack onto that pit road and missing that cone. Kyle was very, very aggressive. Greg was very conservative.
Guys, I think it's interesting. What we're seeing is old school racing here at Darlington. I say that because these guys are running off the track making passes. I remember back in the day, Harry Gant, he would spend more time on the apron than he would up on the racetrack itself. Martin Martin in 09 won here by running down very low. Look at Jimmy Johnson. He's not even on the track, Daryl. He's down on the apron. I love the various lines. I love the way these guys are having to compromise these cars and go where they can find any bit of grip at all. This is fun stuff.
Yeah, and you know what else, Michael? You don't hit the wall very much when you're down there either.
That's a very astute observation, brother.
Well, not that it matters to today's race cars, but when this track was built in 1950, the idea was you would race down there on the apron. The banking in the corners was the safety runoff area until somebody got up there and figured out it was faster. Pit road can also be a little treacherous place. You note they have 1, sometimes 2 NASCAR officials positioned at every car. Here's one reason why. As Landon Castle, then the leader, comes in, they're sweeping up in the 10 pit, and the official has to drag one of the crewmen out of the way of the oncoming car. No penalty there, but that could have been tough.
I think he may have explained to him, you might be wanting to look up the pit road there when you're doing that, young man.
Never turn your back on the race cars.
Nope.
Right. Krista?
Carl Edwards saying his race car is just too tight. He actually told crew chief Bob Osborne it's hard to drive. He just called it wicked. He said, you make this car drive better and we will kill it.
Carl Edwards' lap times compared to a lot of the drivers up in the top 3 or 4 is pretty good as he's running in the 7th spot right now.
And Jimmy Johnson down on the apron, coming back to the front as he passes teammate Casey Kane for 3rd place.
I just think that Johnson is, I tell you, when he qualifies good like he did here, he started on the front row, he's somebody to keep an eye on because that's a good sign for that team.
Well, the reason he started on the front row was by his point standing, because he and Casey Kane, his teammate, ran the same qualifying time to the 1,000th of a second. The tie broken by car owner points put Johnson on the front row and Kane in row 2. The Darlington stripe count is up to at least 5 as Kyle Busch leads Greg Biffle by 0.4 of a second. Greg Biffle now 3 times has closed right to the rear bumper of Kyle Busch, and Busch drops down and let her go. Jimmy Johnson comes with him, as Busch takes to the apron, and the pole sitter goes back to the front, but for how long? Here comes Jimmy Johnson.
But that's the difference in tires. Kyle got tires a little earlier than these two cats here, and they ate him up.
I know Michael Waltrip talked about it, though. It's been a while since I've seen anybody run a groove like Jimmy Johnson's running that 48 car right now, especially down in turn 3 and 4.
Yeah, I don't see how you can call this place old school, though.
73 laps complete. Greg Biffle back out front. Let's take an inside look at what's happening in the Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. Greg Biffle has led the most laps, and the biggest mover forward, Kurt Busch, has picked up 13 spots. Get unlimited access to the Sprint Cup Series with live in-car audio and real-time stats through the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app on your Android-powered device. Learn more at sprint.com/speed.
You know, I just see such a newfound energy in Greg Biffle. He missed the chase last year. They made a crew chief change halfway through the year. They changed a lot of personnel, all but about 1 or 2 people on that 16 car. And think about it, he's been leading the points for 8 consecutive weeks now.
He's always been good here, Larry. I remember it's been 3 or 4 or 5 years ago he came here. He started on the pole, I believe, and dominated the race. The car was bottoming out and the flywheel was hitting the track, and it eventually shook the engine apart. But he had them covered that night, too.
Jimmy Johnson stays close to Greg Biffle for the lead. Kyle Busch in third, Casey Kane, Martin Truex Jr. the top 5. There's Truex and Denny Hamlin in 6th place in a tribute scheme. Take a look at the stripes on that car along the sides and down the hood, and imagine them in blue trimmed in gold, and that shape number 11 for Junior Johnson's car, then driven by Cale Yarborough. Look at the drivers who have won in number 11. Ned Jarrett's victory in 1965 set a NASCAR record. He won the Southern 500 by 15 laps. Wonder how many viewers we would have had at the end of that telecast.
But this is just one of those tracks that Denny Hamlin, he talked about it yesterday. It's almost like the more challenging the racetrack, as we got Joey Logano on the 20, he keeps moving forward. He just passes Brad Keselowski in that 2 car. Brad Keselowski's falling back.
He's fallen out of the top 10, Larry Mack. In fact, Paul Wolf asked Joey Meyer, the spotter, that took the wreck with the right side because he said that he hit the wall pretty hard. He said it didn't look that bad, but he also reported from the cockpit that Brad said he thinks that he might have hurt the tires. Right now he's just trying to ride it out until the next stop.
And here's the other thing that happens when you hit the wall. You knock those crush panels between the body and the wheels. You knock those out, you start getting a lot of heat and a lot of debris up inside the car with you. Very, very distracting. If you look at drivers years ago here, you're talking old school. Remember how we all look like raccoons when the race is over with?
Right.
Well, that's kind of what you deal with when you do that.
Let's go to our Ford Tech car and Jeff Hammond for more on crush panels.
Everybody keeps hitting the wall, keeps getting the Darlington stripe. But how do you keep going? Well, let me show you, folks. Back in the day, we would literally take and add 2 befores or 4 befores to the right-hand side of the car to help protect the tires and wheels. It's just something you do at Darlington when you race here. Today, with the new energy impact foam that we have in these cars, we can still do that right here. We just add that to the other side of the car. We can go up, we can hit the wall, get that dreaded Darlington stripe, and keep on racing. Sometimes what's old is now new.
The stripe counts up to 11. I think that includes Regan Smith twice. 11 and rising. 82 laps complete. All green. 1 pit stop so far, and another coming before too long. Greg Biffle, your leader.
NASCAR on Fox is presented by GoDaddy.com. Domains, websites, and everything in between.
87 caution-free laps. Greg Biffle continues to lead Jimmy Johnson now by 0.8 of a second. Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, Casey Kane, the top 5. Diet Dew is giving Junior Nation a chance to vote on Junior's special paint scheme. Log on to dewcrew.com and vote on a special Do Crew Rises scheme and enter to win a number 88 team VIP race experience.
Back in 81, 82, started that little club that was for kids, you know, little 6, 8, 10-year-old kids that want to be a part of the team. Started a little thing called the Do Crew. Glad to see that they still got it going.
Denny Hamlin alongside and past Casey Kane right there. That will change 5th place. Steve.
Mike Dale Earnhardt Jr. doing a good job of adapting to the changing track conditions. On lap 60, he said, "My car is so loose, it feels wrecking loose." But just a few laps ago, he said, "If you can tighten me up, I can go a lot faster." So that car's getting better.
Yeah, right now his problem is leader Greg Biffle is only about 4 seconds behind him. You just think about one of the best starts that Dale Earnhardt Jr. has had in a long time. 3rd in the points, first 10 races, 8 top 10s, and has completed every lap of competition.
Yeah, and one of the things the crew chiefs were telling me, you know, when it gets dark, when the temperature really drops, this track will be absolutely opposite of the way it was when they started. That's why a lot of guys started out a little on the loose side, because they knew the track was going to tighten up.
Biffle, Johnson, and Busch. Martin Truex Jr. having a good, strong run here in 4th place. Krista.
Yes, Mike, Martin Truex wheeling one of the fastest cars on the track right now, and he has the luxury of doing something he hasn't normally gotten to do at this track, not having to come from the back. He says he always races well here, or feels like he does, but he never qualifies well. Starting 6th, he feels like he can do both. A stellar car tonight.
He looks like he may have one of the better cars on the long run, and we're getting within about 5 to 8 laps of what will be another cycle of green flag pit stops.
You know, Larry, it's got to be comforting, though, from a driver's perspective, to be able to slide up there and scrape that wall and keep on going and not hurt the car so bad that you got to go to the pits. I mean, you hit the wall here, you kind of scrape along it, but you keep on going. Don't really hurt your speed.
Guys, I just love this shot. This shows how on the edge of control these guys are. Look, hardly a car comes off that turn without it wiggling around. There goes Hamlin doing that. Carl Edwards sideways. Here comes Ambrose. They're all sideways off the corners. Look at our leaderboard, Darrell. The first 3 cars, Greg Biffle, Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, they drive out of control all the time. They're always sideways. That's why they're so comfortable here. And then if you look at Truex in 4th, he loves running right next to the wall. The leaderboard makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, if you look at that exit to turn 2 over there, you're headed for the wall. And then at the last instant, you turn it hard left, and that's where you see that little fishtail action coming off of that corner.
Now this green flag run may be a little longer than the one at the start of the race. If they came in on the same cycle, Keselowski would be in now. He was the first car to pit at lap 46 on the first cycle. He, among many, many others, have bounced off Darlington's outside wall, and yet continues here at 94 caution-free laps.
Yeah, a couple of the Richard Childress drivers, Paul Menard and Kevin Harvick, they also were a couple of the drivers to hit pit road early.
Greg Biffle leading Jimmy Johnson by almost a full second now. Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, Denny Hamlin, the top 5.
NASCAR on Fox, presented by GoDaddy.com, is sponsored by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. By Farmers, we are insurance, we are farmers. And by Ford, proud sponsor of NASCAR.
Jamie McMurray was the first car onto pit road at lap 96, and within these next 5 laps, all of the lead lap cars have been in the pit lane. Eric Almirola, one of the last to pit. And we cycle back around to Jimmy Johnson as the race leader, as Joey Logano completes his stop. There is Almirola. David Gilliland is still on track, along with David Rudiman, the only lead lap cars that have not stopped in this sequence. So we cycle around to Johnson as the leader, and now Greg Biffle 2 seconds back of Jimmy Johnson after the second green flag pit stop of the night.
I know the stop times may be vary just a little bit, but Greg is just being really, really cautious, and I don't blame him getting on pit road.
And it's a tough night for the orange cone. That marks the commitment line at the entrance and exit of pit road. Here is Dave Blaney trying to slow down to come into the pit. And he picks up a hitchhiker, which will draw him a pass-through penalty. So let's get a recap of what happened on these green flag pit stops as David Rudiman heads to the garage area with no brakes. We begin with Steve Burns.
Mike, Jimmy Johnson said upon entering pit road that his car had improved from being edgy to just a little bit snug. So 4 tires and a small chassis adjustment, Dick Berggren.
And Greg Biffle had a flawless pit stop, at least as far as his crew is concerned. The car is so good, they made no adjustments to it, Matt.
Dick, Kyle Busch was one of the first cars to hit pit road. Much of this race, he's been fighting the absolute same thing. Absolutely no grip. The car on the free side. Some big adjustments on that stop, Krista.
Right now, Martin Truex just trying to let the car come to him. They've been making slight adjustments to make his car a little bit tighter all night. He's still fighting a little bit of a loose condition, but right now, overall, extremely happy.
And Mike, you know, a lot of guys are running a lower line, and that's because the track is older. This pavement is aging, and now you're looking for grip.
Now Denny Hamlin now finds himself 7.8 seconds back, Darrell, after this round of pit stops. In the top 5, Casey Kane behind him. We have had approximately, I'm pulling a number out of thin air here, 30% less caution flags in the last half dozen or so races than usual for this point in the season. No particular reason why, but tonight this is the longest stretch of green flag racing to start a Darlington race since NASCAR started releasing detailed caution period info in 1979. The only race here that we know for sure went longer, the Southern 500 in 1963, 500 miles caution free.
I know this is okay. This is just, if you want to talk old school, but we don't really have anybody mad at anybody. You know, we don't have any rivalries. We don't have anybody kind of looking for somebody to get even with. There's just not a lot of, just everybody seems to be doing their own deal and kind of taking care of their stuff and working with everybody, and let's all get along, you know?
Well, Jeff Hammond has more on racing under the long green.
And Mike, right now, a lot of these crew chiefs are making their drivers a little bit nervous because, or making them a little bit mad. Let's put it that way. Darrell will understand what I'm saying because they're telling them to race the racetrack. Save your tires. We've seen the drop off from each and every green flag run, what's going on so far. So when they left pit road this last time, the drivers were being told one more time, save your tires, pace yourself. It's still a long ways to go here at Darlington, guys.
And Jeff, as I'm watching Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car leading over Greg Biffle, our pole sitter in the 16, when you look at their time on pit road that last set of green flag stops, pit stop, driver time was almost identical, but Jimmy Johnson and his crew pitted 1 lap sooner than Greg Biffle, and that's that 2.5 to 3 second difference.
Johnson pulling up to lap Jeff Burton. A Chevy, a Ford, and 3 Toyotas lead the Bojangles Southern 500. 109 laps complete in NASCAR on Fox.
You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
NASCAR on Fox, presented by GoDaddy.com, is sponsored by Chevrolet and their award-winning cars, trucks, and crossovers. By Diet Mountain Dew. Yeah, it tastes that good. And by Lowe's. Lowe's, never stop improving. 5-time champ Jimmy Johnson desperately seeking his first win of the year. Time for an AT&T race break, brought to you by the nation's largest 4G network. Rethink possible as we welcome you live here to Darlington, South Carolina, along with Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers, and during this skid of Hendrick Motorsports and Jimmy Johnson, if we can call it that, Michael, Jimmy's finished second in 3 different races since his last win.
And man, he's got a car up under him tonight, and we talk about all the time how he's so good with a loose race car. You better be good with a loose race car tonight, because you're going to spend a lot of time sideways.
Meanwhile, Greg Biffle is running second, who by far our points leader has led the most laps, but don't think he's going away. His last 7 races, he's led the most laps. He did not win. Even when he won in Texas, he was not the leader of the most laps, but he's running consistently.
Yeah, he led a lot of laps early, Chris, but this track is going to change. I'm not so sure I want my car that good at the start. We see Kyle Busch closing in on Biffle now for that second spot, so as the track changes, Biffle will have to work on that car.
And steady Dale Earnhardt Jr. junior starting his furthest back in the field of any race. He's up to 20th, but we've heard reports about improving his car. How does he do it?
Well, he was wrecking loose early in the race, he reported. Then he's just kind of loose, and that's what I love about he and his crew chief, Steve Letarte. Watch this car. He's going through the center of the corner. Whoa, sideways right there. But they're able to communicate, talk about it, and he told us in Talladega, I love how Stevie fixes my car, and he's got some fixing to do.
Meanwhile, Danica Patrick, a couple of laps down, they talked about her tightening the car up. We heard her complaining about the car was loose off turn 2. That was early when she first went a lap down.
Yeah, you know, she needs all the mental re-encouragement she can get. I mean, she needs to be encouraged. This is a tough job. This longest green flag run we've ever had here in Darlington, that's not playing into her hands. She needs a chance to take a break and think about what she's got.
She's getting plenty of cheerleading. Let's listen into the radio communication with Danica Patrick.
You just keep your momentum and do your thing. Keep doing what you're doing there. Not too bad. Still a very, very long way to go. Oh, yeah. That's a good one. You keep doing like that, they'll be just fine. Nice and smooth. Another good one. That was really good.
As a race car driver, that is so valuable. You're out on an island. You're in that car all by yourself. The only way you can talk to the world is a button on your steering wheel and what they tell you in your ears. I love that talk to her.
You heard about her talking about her expectations for this race and running in the Coke 600. Of course, our primetime sports continuing on Fox every Saturday night for the next 8 weeks. And let's check the drivers of the AT&T Fastest Driver Challenge. You can text FAST to 34763 or go to AT&TFastestDriver.com for a chance to win. Jimmy leads Greg Biffle, and there is Greg Biffle and Kyle Busch challenging for second as well. We all remember last year how Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick ended up after the race. We'll have more in a moment. NASCAR on Fox is presented by GoDaddy.com. Domains, websites, and everything in between.
Jimmy Johnson leading after 127 green flag laps. There is Johnson's Chevrolet, as shown by our aerial coverage from DirecTV. Only DirecTV gives you dedicated driver channels, so you never miss a second of your driver's race. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Johnson has now opened up a lead of 5.8 seconds over Kyle Busch and pole sitter Greg Biffle. Here's our Ford F-150 EcoBoost track facts for Darlington. Last winner from the pole here was Dale Jarrett back in 1997. Ford's led the point standings after 9 of the 10 races this year, and Ford has 41 Cup poles. All-time best here at Darlington.
You know, I talked to Jimmy Johnson before qualifying, and he told me, DW, this is the best car I've had here at Darlington. It's got a lot of neat things in it that I like. And then he qualified so well, and I felt like he was going to have a big night tonight.
Johnson's picking him up and mowing him down. There are just 14 other cars on the lead lap. And among the dozen or so one lap down is last week's winner, Brad Keselowski. Matt?
Mike, significant damage cosmetically to the right side of the 2 car. Now on the last pit stop, front tire changer Ben Brown, he carries a helmet cam, and when he went around the front of the car, he was recording the video when he went to work. Well, after the stop, the team played that video back, slow-moed it still by still to see how much damage they're going to have to repair on that next stop. These are parts they're going to use in the back of the car, and his showed how much damage they're going to have to work on that right front fender. They've got a lot of work to do. He says the balance is awful.
Of course, the problem, they're going to need a caution to make that type of a pit stop, because right now his lap times is a good 3, 4, 5 tenths off our leader, Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, ever since he hit the wall or scraped the wall, he's been going backward, and they definitely got issues.
Johnson has just lapped the 15th place car. That's Jamie McMurray.
And Mike, right now our average speed is 159.5 miles an hour.
Wow.
159 miles an hour. That's qualifying speed back not too long ago.
Yeah, and that includes 2 green flag pit stops, that average. Wow. Clint Boyer currently 14th, 26.7 seconds off the lead. Hope you're enjoying NASCAR on Fox on this fast track Saturday night. How about you just grab hold of that volume knob and let's crank it up for you a bit. close battle. Martin Truex Jr. in the 56 takes it to the inside of pole sitter Greg Biffle and moves up to third place. 135 laps complete in Darlington, South Carolina, and here's what's fresh off the wire. Before Darlington was repaved, Jimmy Johnson had led over 400 laps here, but since the 2008 repaving, he had led only 2 laps at this racetrack before tonight. Johnson has now been out in front for 37 circuits and is pulling away from Kyle Busch.
Yeah,
that's what's fresh off the wire. Served to you by KFC. Come on in and taste why fresh is better.
I just like the line, man. I like what he's doing. He's fishing. He hunts a place and he finds some grip, and he'll use that for a while, and then he'll move around. He's all over the place. He really is got a car that's very, very versatile right now, Michael.
Yeah, and he can go all over the place. Versatility, Darrell, that's the key here. But you know, we've talked about him driving it sideways. How good he was on the old pavement. It was slick. You couldn't go straight. You had to pedal that baby. And man, it is fun watching these guys pedal them tonight.
Yeah, you know, I think the track has lost. I mean, it's 2008, so this track has lost a lot of that real good grip it had for a couple of years there.
I've been watching our man Kurt Busch in the 51. Darrell, you talked about him from the drop of the green flag. Started back in the 25th position. He is still hanging tough, sitting there in the 10th position, trying to find his second top 10 finish of the year.
Well, Larry, I love to watch the scoring monitor, and I love to watch the times. But a 30.58, a 30.56, a 30.51, a 30.60, a 51, a 73, a 68, a 64. The cars all run the same speed.
139 laps complete. Here's a GoDaddy.com race summary. Jimmy Johnson is one of 6 different leaders. The lead has changed hands 7 times. No caution flags after 139 laps, so just 14 cars are on the lead lap. And the stripe count, 11, might have just climbed to 12 there. And Marcus Ambrose just nearly brought out the caution for the first time tonight. Watch the number 9, the yellow and black car.
Let's see what he does. Yahoo! Hang on to her, brother.
He slid all the way through that corner.
It looked like one of those V8 supercar rides right there.
Well, I think we see why he is stepping up his game, because leader Jimmy Johnson in that 48 is working on putting Marcus a second lap down. Ambrose right now back in the 25th position.
Second place, Truex is on the charge.
Boy, he has. He's found something, and he is going somewhere.
Moves past Kyle Busch into second, 7 seconds behind the leader.
I think we saw this the last green flag run with Martin Truex Jr. in his 56 car. As we're getting now to about 10 to 15 laps in that green flag pit stop, this is when he really came to life last time.
Steve Burns, how about our leader?
The update from Jimmy Johnson, Mike. He said, my free condition went away. I've lost a little grip. I can't run the center the way I was.
Steve, I think this racetrack has went through a strong transition, because now we're almost completely into darkness. The racetrack has cooled down. It's starting to gain more and more grip.
And I think that's where Jimmy's going to. Let's watch Jimmy drive some laps here. Let's see what he looks like. See how nice and relaxed he is going down that straightaway, about 180 into that corner. And he's not fighting the wheel. See how nice and smooth up over the top. Car's a little snug, which is good. It's not snappy loose off the corner. He's got a really, really comfortable car to drive. And then it gets down here to turn 1, takes it in nice and low, runs it up the hill, gets back in the gas. Look at that closing rate on the car in front of him. Plays with the throttle a little bit, and here he goes. That is a great Hamlin race car.
Darrell, it's almost like he drives it as much with the throttle as he does the steering wheel.
That's what you do here. You run it up the corner, you catch it with the gas.
But Darrell, he has to go from 178 miles an hour at the end of the straightaway to 123 miles an hour. He has to scrub off 50 miles an hour to the middle of the corner.
Well, watch the brake. He'll get on the brakes.
And it's pit stop time. Kyle Busch and Greg Biffle, along with Marcus Ambrose, in the pit lane for the 3rd straight green flag stop of the night.
Well, Greg Biffle has been losing ground because he's been pitting later than some of the other drivers. But, Matt, here's Kyle Busch as well.
Larry, Mack, just like the previous round of pit stops, the 18 of Busch, one of the first cars that hit. He said the car during that run much better
has the best pit stop of anybody in that there's no one in front of him, so he can drive right off pit road. He said he was ready for this pit stop, a minor adjustment. Krista.
Carl Edwards is in. He's saying he's just a little tight under throttle. Where he wants to be better on the track is turn 4.
Casey Kane, Kurt Busch come in. Jeff Burton's already there. And there's a look at who is on pit road at the moment as we continue under green for this third round of pit stops. Dick.
And Casey Kane on pit road. He has been troubled with a loose race car all night, so much so on the first run, the cords were showing on his right rear.
Tony Stewart saying the car's not bad, just a little bit loose on the exits.
Denny Hamlin getting service as Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth yet to come in. Truex is in now. Krista.
Mike, as the run gets longer, Martin Truex gets better. The words they're using on the radio to describe his runs: smooth, smart, and focused. This is a great race car and a great driver with one of his favorite tracks.
So here comes Johnson to pit road. Steve.
Jimmy Johnson, the update for him. Again, he says, I can't run the center the way I was. Matt Kenseth on pit road, he said, I could stand to be a little bit tighter. Jimmy Johnson in, hits his marks again just perfectly. One chassis adjustment for that 48 car. They're going to hook him up in the center, 4 tires, and they're going to slam it full of fuel for Jimmy Johnson in the 48.
So for the second consecutive sequence, the last ones to come to pit road will be Eric Almirola, Landon Castle, and David Gilliland. All the rest of the top 20 have been in.
But with the lead Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car had built, he could actually be one of the last leaders to come to pit road.
He had a 7.7 second lead over Martin Truex when he came to pit road. And there is Kyle Busch, 2.5 seconds behind Johnson as the 48 builds speed. The gap down to 2 seconds, 1.8, 1.6, 1.4. And Kyle coming as Johnson gets up to speed, and Johnson will retain the lead.
Well, and Jimmy Johnson's going to have 4-lap fresher tires than Kyle Busch, which is actually a lot here at Darlington.
Saw him shaking the car a little bit there going down the back straightaway. Get a little heat in those tires before he got to the turn.
Before green flag pit stops, Jimmy Johnson had a 7.7 second lead over Martin Truex, as he does right now. However, Kyle Busch has moved up into second and pole sitter Greg Biffle third as they led the charge onto pit road. Now Kyle Busch was headed for pit road, and a call was made apparently late to Greg Biffle to come in at the same time. You see Kyle way down on the racetrack. Biffle makes a very late turn between 3 and 4 and almost missed the entrance to pit road. Here's what Biffle said to his team.
You guys can't do that, okay? I promise you it's not me. Just about wrecked. I was talking about 42, come on down.
It's kind of interesting, though. If it wasn't him, who was it?
Not sure if that was the spotter or the crew chief.
It wasn't me. I guess they saw the 18 come, whoever called the shot, and said come with him.
And then 42 was 4,200 down pit road, 4,200 RPM coming to the pit lane.
But what the spotter meant, he's not the one calling Greg Biffle in. It's Greg Biffle's crew chief, Matt Pusha, that's saying pit. The spotter is just responsible for talking him on the pit road.
But Biffle made it safely and now is out there in third place, but they're all chasing Jimmy Johnson, the 5-time Sprint Cup champion, who has now been out front for 59 laps. Biffle led 74 earlier. Kyle Busch 21 laps in the lead. Denny Hamlin and Landon Castle have also been out front, and Casey Kane led 1. Martin Truex Jr.'s been in the wall.
Yeah, I just saw him go by. He's got a lot of damage down the right side. He was closing up on Biffle. I guess he got it back there coming off turn 4. Right there. Yeah, he got into it pretty good.
But Darrell, you and Michael talked about it in the pre-race show. You just can never let your guard down at this place.
And I don't care if you're Jimmy Johnson right now, you are on pins and needles. You just don't want to make a mistake, but you got to keep pushing, man.
Big fight here for 13th and 14th between the 29 of Harvick and Clint Boyer, and the reason they're racing so hard is they're just in front of the leader.
And Larry and Mike, that's why when people say, why is Darlington such a big deal? Why is the Southern 500 such a big deal? It's because if you can run 500 miles here and get out of here with a win, you have accomplished something, man. It's a big deal.
Let's go to pit road and Steve.
And Kevin Harvick's been loose all night, Mike, since the drop of the green flag. In fact, Harvick said we can't keep doing what we're doing. They've made some big adjustments to his number 29 car.
And I think they're going to have to keep making bigger adjustments because the pattern I'm seeing, the more this racetrack cools down as we get on into the night, it's almost like the drivers that's been loose are just getting looser.
Well, I know it's better, Larry, because I'm watching lap times, and they are not dropping off quite as much as they were earlier in the race.
Now Martin Truex Jr. still about 8.5 back of the leader, and Greg Biffle appears to be falling into Truex's clutches here for 3rd place. Krista.
Well, Mike, it never ceases to amaze me. How in the world do you attack patiently? Martin Truex kissing the wall. Spotter Keith Barnwell checking for a tire rub. Said, no smoke, you're good to go. Just take it easy on the body work, man.
Well, and it's kind of a confidence thing that, like I said earlier, you can get it in the wall, but it doesn't slow you down. You just overcome it and keep pushing, like we see Martin doing here.
Dave Blaney, the yellow car at the bottom of the screen, working inside Danica Patrick. Here comes Biffle, and Truex going to ease it just a bit here. That's a tricky place to try to pass.
We know this is the safest race car we've ever had. It's also the toughest race car we've ever had, and it fits this racetrack perfectly. See, Martin timed that perfectly, and I think Greg may have worked with him a little bit. But Martin got a great run off the middle of the corner, off a 2, passed him down the back straightaway. That's what you want to do.
Greg Biffle, he didn't want to just roll over and let it happen, though. He tried to fight his way back, but right now, just like every green flag run we've had, Martin Truex Jr., the 56, seems to be strongest near the tail end of it.
It's a momentum racetrack, and you got to get that momentum up to make those passes, so you got to time it just right.
But let me ask Michael Waltrip, who's not only our analyst, but is Truex's car owner. Hasn't that been Martin's pattern this year, that he is really good on long runs most of the places we've been?
He just really takes care of his equipment, Mike. He's able to keep the car up under him early in the going. We heard Tony Stewart's spotter and crew chief talk to him earlier. Tony said it won't go early, but it goes well late. It's the same thing with Truex as you see him diving under Danica there. He's just, he's able to keep it straight most of the time, and that allows him to take care of those Goodyear tires.
Truex in 3rd, 9.5 seconds out. There is Biffle right back alongside again as we look at Tony Stewart in 12th place and still on the lead lap. You can go to ChevyOutdoors.com and enter for a chance to win a Silverado, plus a day of bass fishing with Tony at his home.
Yeah, Tony started back in the 17th position in this 14 car. He's been fairly solid, but with 167 green flag laps, right now he's only about a straightaway in front of leader Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, stay off the wall and stay on the lead lap, and you'll be surprised how good of a finish you got. Steve.
DW, Tony just said the car is improving. Specifically, he says the car definitely much better now in 1 and 2 than it has been all night.
Let's have a look at 7th place. Jeff Gordon and Matt Kenseth running all but nose to tail. They're about 18 seconds off the lead, but continue to have strong lead lap runs here, Matt.
Mike, the odds are looking better for Jeff Gordon to score that 8th Darlington win. The previous run, he said he felt like he was Joey Chitwood. He said the car was okay in entry, and it was absolutely terrible the rest of the corner. The last stop, they made a couple different
making progress.
Yeah, and it was so obvious. That car was junked there for a while, but now Jeff's hanging in there. He's in 7th place and running good lap times.
Well, Joey Chitwood was one of America's legendary stunt drivers. His Danger Angels played at county fairs and short tracks all across America. Jimmy Johnson leading Kyle Busch by 5.5 seconds in Darlington. Caution out for debris at lap 172. Here's a look at the leaders' pit stops. Jimmy Johnson upper right, almost done. Carl Edwards comes out as you see Jeff Gordon come in the middle of your screen. Mark Truex headed down pit road, but Johnson got a good jump. Kyle Busch is away, and Greg Biffle at the far end of pit road making his stop down toward turn 1. First caution flag of the night. Johnson wins the race off pit road from Kyle Busch. Truex and the 99 of Carl Edwards picks up 4 spots as Biffle loses 4 on this stop. And the orange cone, gaunt sentinel of the entrance to pit road, back on duty.
NASCAR on Fox, presented by GoDaddy.com, is sponsored by Ram. Trucks, guts, glory, Ram. By Subway. Subway broke the 200-calorie breakfast barrier with egg white morning melts. Subway, eat fresh. And by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. NASCAR on Fox Live and the mid-race report brought to you by AT&T from Darlington, South Carolina. Jeff Gordon, 23rd in points coming into the race, the worst he's been at this point of the season in his entire career, hanging in that top 10, scraped the wall a little bit earlier. Meanwhile, at this point last year, we had 5 cautions in this race, just 1 so far. Jimmy Johnson had spun the first of 2 times. He's led the most laps. He's your leader at the moment. Let's see who Darrell is keeping an eye on.
He started second, but he's going to finish first. I told you that 48 car was the guy to beat tonight.
Well, I like Kyle Busch. He's really fast, and as the track continues to change, I think his team will stay on top of it. Watch for that 18, Larry McReynolds, to have a big night tonight.
Well, Michael, we've already had 3 sets of green flag pit stop cycles, and what I see, you better be solid on pit road with your pit stop and getting on and off pit road. And Krista, don't wait too late to hit pit road while they're making these green flag stops.
Larry Mack, that is exactly what they're talking about here in Martin Truex's pit. Chad Johnston telling his driver, Martin Truex, the only place we're losing time is these guys short pitting and pitting early. The 5-year anniversary of Martin Truex's last win is approaching. He is as good a shot as anyone to win this race tonight. Mike?
Krista, I'm wondering who could be streak busters tonight. If Greg Biffle wins, he'd be the first pole sitter to go to victory lane in 27 races. And Jimmy Johnson, it's been 16 races since Jimmy or any of Rick Hendrick's Chevy drivers have been to victory lane. Chris?
Meanwhile, Mike, Brad Keselowski trying to win back-to-back is a couple of laps down, and Danica Patrick 3 laps down, currently running 31st. Remember, she finished 38th back at Daytona, her first Cup race of this season, and we are still, despite the caution, running at a track record speed over 153 miles per hour, the old record 140, and that is your AT&T mid-race report.
Thank you, Chris. We worked the first caution flag of the evening. Came out at lap 172 for debris on the back straightaway. We went through 3 green flag pit stop cycles before this first caution flag pit stop of the night. Put Jimmy Johnson in front of Kyle Busch, Martin Truex. Here's Carl Edwards 4th and Greg Biffle 5th. You're looking at the Aaron's lucky dog for this caution. You don't need credit. All you need is Aaron's and Clint Boyer. 13th place, back on the lead lap. Mark Martin, 20th, 1 lap down. There are 11 cars that are 1 lap behind. As let's see if we get the signal to go back to green next time by. We do. A couple of cars will take the wave around. Almirola, Blaney, Sorensen, Casey Mears will cycle around along with David Gilliland, and none of those cars go back onto the lead lap.
What we've seen here in the past, once these drivers kind of regroup like they were able to do under this caution, it gets pretty exciting on restarts. We even saw it in last night's race.
Wave around cars work their way to the tail end of the field as they come double file out of turn number 2. That camera shot Michael really liked right there, right at the start of that grandstand coming off turn number 2 at the outside wall.
Yeah, you can see how that wall, look at how crooked the wall, the safer barrier, kind of little dip in there, and then that bulge in the wall right there. And they follow that dip in the wall right there, taking every inch that you can off that corner.
Jimmy Johnson's Chevy, the Toyotas of Kyle Busch and Martin Truex, and the Fords of Edwards, Biffle, and Kenseth are the top 6 for this restart. Pace car dives in and double wide. Here they come to go back to green. Beginning lap 180. Easy off turn 4. The restart zone begins here. And Jimmy Johnson is on it. Back under green, Kyle Busch. Can't stay even with Johnson into turn number 1. Now he grabs the gas and goes, and Busch takes the lead.
Might be a note to self there. You might want to start on the outside next time.
The leader has lane choice. Front 8 single file jostling mid-pack. Denny Hamlin on the inside of Kurt Busch.
Right now, Jimmy Johnson in that 48, he's got his hands full of Martin Truex Jr. in that 56 car.
Ooh, it's going to get a little dicey back in the pack here.
Top 15 single file, and Ambrose has to pull in after side-by-side with Burton.
This little mess. This is an exciting little group going right here. They are fighting for position, and they were all over each other going into turn 1, and you can see right now they're not taking any prisoners right here.
Well, Darrell, there's 11 drivers in this wad. That's 1 lap down, fighting to be the first driver. 1 lap down to maybe get the free pass should we get that caution.
Well, they're putting up a heck of a fight, I'll say that.
Right now that's Ryan Newman in the free pass position, 39.
But Larry, that's how I know these cars are good and they got grip, especially when they got new tires on them. These guys are being able to put these cars and run side by side in places you normally don't get away with here.
14 cars on the lead lap. Kyle Busch from Jimmy Johnson, 0.4 of a second is the lead. As you watch speeds build in the backstretch, Tony Stewart is in the top 10. Steve Burns.
Mike, to Darrell's point about where drivers are finding grip, when the caution came out, Tony Stewart in that 14 said, I need more grip in 1 and 2, but you won't believe where we're finding grip in 3 and 4.
I'm running right in the middle of the racetrack in 1 and 2, almost all 4 wheels under the hash marks off of 2 just to get some grip. And then 3 and 4, there's guys running all 4 wheels on the first lane under the hash marks. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
I guess grip is where you find it.
But that's the thing about this racetrack. It is constantly changing. You know, you talk about rhythm. It's hard to get into rhythm here because you're always looking for the preferred line with the best grip.
4th place battle of teammates. The Roush Fenway Fords of Carl Edwards, 99, and pole sitter Greg Biffle, the 16. Biffle shoots past, moves into 4th.
And Larry, these lap times are, I mean, they've really come down from what they were when we started the race. The track has picked up a lot of speed, and we got a battle here with Casey Kane, Matt Kenseth.
6th place at stake here, Darrell, and Jeff Gordon has joined them.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth, even though he lost that spot about 4 laps ago, he ran his fastest lap of the race, as well as Kurt Busch, who's in 9th in the 51 car.
Steve?
And the report from Matt Kenseth, Mike, he says, we're making gains on the car. If I could just get some track position.
We had his best chance just a second ago before we went back to green. At least got it caught up.
Jimmy Johnson is there, right in the tire tracks of Kyle Busch, Matt.
Mike, similar to the previous couple of runs, Kyle Busch's car takes off really well, and then he slowly starts to lose the handle. His biggest issue, he said, he lacked a lot of comfort turning down into turn 1, but the forward bite coming up, tagged the wall there, coming up off the corner, he was also pretty happy with that as well.
Matt's point, it looks like Jimmy Johnson may be a little better in 1 and 2 than Kyle Busch in the 18. You can see him closing up right there. I think they're pretty equal down at the other end. They're headed into now 3 and 4.
Well, entering 1, the tail wagged on Busch's car, and exiting 2, Darrell, it did as well. That car's trying to step out on it.
Well, you kind of pitch it into turn 1. If you got to take it down on the apron, pitch it in there, and you know how you stop it from going into the wall? With the throttle. You nail the throttle, it shoots across the middle of the corner, then you got to roll out a little bit and take another hitch at it. But got a heck of a battle for the lead right here.
Johnson is right there, just off the corner of Kyle Busch, and dives into turn number 3. Johnson back to the lead. Greg Biffle has moved to 3rd. As we watch the leaders, the Biff passes Truex for 3rd place, Dick.
Yeah, he picked up 2 positions since the pit stop, Mike. And on that last pit stop, they made the first major adjustments of the night to Greg Biffle's car. Wrench went in both sides of the back window. Biffle now has what he wants, a car that is handling much better. The goal had been stay in the top 5 all night. He's done that. Now he's heading to the front.
But you saw that pass that Jimmy Johnson made on Kyle Busch. That's Darlington racing. If you tried to race Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch did, you're going to lose time, and this bunch here would catch you. But you let him make that transition, take the lead, and fall in behind him, you don't lose any positions.
Johnson scoots away as Carl Edwards catches Martin Truex for 4th place.
There's some fast laps being run now, guys. They were really just 29.48 that time by on the 48.
Martin Truex Jr. in that 56, he is right against the wall. He's doing everything but rubbing that outside wall.
There's a cushion of air there. Let it go flat side of that race car and that wall. And that's all that keeps that car from going into the wall is air.
8th place, Kurt Busch, fighting back toward the front. Busch has been tremendous on the racetrack. His pit stops have not been fast. He's had to dig himself out of a hole after every pit stop exchange. And he continues, though, to run in the top 10.
I just don't think it's any coincidence. You know, he raced here last night. Got a lot of good practice last night. Got some good track time and information. I think it's really helping him tonight.
5th place, Casey Kane, who's had 3 straight top 5s, trying to hold off. Uh-oh, what's wrong with Jeff Gordon?
Is that left rear flat? It looks like that left rear tire is down.
Yeah, he's got a flat tire. Jeff Gordon's saga continues.
4 tires.
How snake bit can you get?
He's going pretty fast there. If that tire should fly apart, it'd rip that whole quarter panel off that thing.
Alan Gustafson, crew chief, awaits Gordon on pit road, and this will take Gordon from the lead lap.
Yeah, comes in here 23rd in points, 6 finishes outside the top 20.
Caution is on the speedway.
I didn't see anybody. It doesn't look like anybody rubbed into that tire. It looked like it just went flat.
Look at what's happened to Jeff Gordon this season.
And you just look at those, the engines, the late wreck, the cut tire at Bristol. Jeff Gordon can't do anything about that.
Pit road penalty. Just bad pit stops. You name it, they've had it.
Debris from Jeff Gordon's tire puts us under caution for the 2nd time tonight.
Now, even though Jeff Gordon's going to go a lap down, that's still a huge break to catch that caution.
When I looked at the left side of that car and I looked at the tire that was going down, there was no contact that I saw on the side of the car or the tire. It just went flat. He ran over something, I guess.
And our replay producers went back and looked at available footage and could not find any recent contact that Gordon had with another car. So a cut tire brings us caution number 2. Jimmy Johnson had a lead on Kyle Busch. Biffle had moved up to 3rd, and now they will all come to pit road. Krista?
Martin Truex told to do what the leaders do. If all 3 of them in front of you come, then you will come. If only 1 comes, you'll stay out. As he said, they're all coming. They talked about 2 tires. No, they will do. They're coming around for 4, it looks like, the right side. Steve?
Well, Krista, Jimmy Johnson enters cleanly. He knows he's going to have to contend with Kyle Busch on exit. No adjustments on the 48, Matt.
Steve, Kyle Busch said on that run his car extremely loose. They've already made a chassis adjustment. Solid stop by the 18 guys, Dick. Very good
not going to make any major adjustments on it in this round of pit stop. 4 tires and gas.
Now Ryan Newman will get the free pass. 2 tires each.
A lot of the reason for that, look at all the 2-tire changes, and then you see where the guys that took 4 fell in, but the 2 tires look like was a pretty good call.
Now one number that's not on that board is the 11. Denny Hamlin chose not to pit.
I just believe with as fewer drivers as we have on the lead lap, I like what Jimmy Johnson and his crew did.
Under caution at Darlington, let's take an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. Jimmy Johnson has the fastest lap of this race. Kurt Busch has gained the most positions since the start. Check out the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app on your Android-powered device on the only national carrier with truly unlimited data. You can learn more at sprint.com/speed. Denny Hamlin did not make a pit stop under this caution flag, so he is our race leader as we go down to Jeff Hammond at the University of Farmers.
And Mike, right now, a lot of these teams realizing that caution flags are not coming very often have taken advantage of the last 2 to try to fix their cars. I'm talking about Joey Logano's team. For one, they brought their car back in for an extra pit stop to try to beat the right side out, try to make sure everything was clear, because they knew this may be their only opportunity to get it right. Also, Brad Keselowski also came in and took time to work on that car, to repair the damage on the right side of that car, try to make it a little more aerodynamic sound so they can focus on tuning on the car rather than trying to repair it, guys.
Thanks, Jeff Keselowski. Now 2 laps down. Also reporting David Rudiman is back in the race after brake problems, 53 laps down. Why did Denny Hamlin stay on the racetrack and not pit? We listened in.
We'll do the opposite of what they do in front of you. If they come in, stay out. Okay, 10-4. It's open. Stay out, stay out, stay out.
He's got 14 laps on his tires, more than what all these drivers that just came to pit road. A lot of them just went with 2 right side tires. That possibly could be his saving grace. I just think this is a short-term game.
Well, last night he was in last night's race, and there was all kind of tire strategies, 2 tires, and that really paid off for Elliott Sadler. I don't think anybody tried no tires last night, though.
Didn't Hamlin finish second last night?
Yes, he
dominated that race.
Finished second to Joey Logano.
He did.
Denny Hamlin at the front, green flag. Hamlin and Casey Kane with Truex and Edwards in row 2. Tony Stewart closest to the front. He's been all night with Matt Kenseth, row 3. And it's Kane on the high line that's going to get the lead.
Yeah, that's what 4 tires or 2 tires will do for you. It just gives you so much of an advantage.
But Carl Edwards in that 99 stacked them up, and look who jumped up in there. Tony Stewart in that 14's jumped up there, as well as Kurt Busch in the 51.
Oh yeah, this is your time to pounce. I mean, we haven't had a lot of caution flags. This is a good chance to get caught up and make some moves.
It was almost pounce and bounce right there going into turn number 1.
Well, turn 1 is just breathtaking. They go down in there, and it's just by the grace of God they make it.
Ambrose Menard battling not for position, just for grip and place on the racetrack. Here with Allmendinger in the 22. The Dinger 17th, 1 lap down. Back up front, Kane, Hamlin, Truex. Then Kurt Busch and Tony Stewart. That's 3 Chevys, 2 Toyotas in the top 5. Then the Fords of Edwards and Biffle.
Do we know what happened? Do we know why Carl backed him up? Did he miss a gear? Did he spin the tires? Have we? I don't. Let's take a look at it. Yeah.
Now Edwards is second row outside on this restart.
You see him kind of juking right there, like he's trying to spin the tires, maybe clean them up a little bit.
There's the start of the restart zone where that white line is.
His restart looks good up to there.
I think he just got out of position right there. Tony took advantage of him and pushed him up the hill a little bit, and he got up too high, and he had to kind of stay out of it until he could get the car back up under him.
Whatever the reason, Edwards has slipped now to 6th, with Kane the leader, Hamlin second, under fire from Truex. And Jeff Gordon got another flat left rear tire.
There's something causing that. They got something rubbing on the tire, cutting it down, Matt.
That left rear wing comes there, see what it's rubbing on.
And Jeff just came on the radio and said, we have a problem. Something is definitely broken inside the race car because we have another cut left rear tire.
Well, it could be a number of things. Could be a brake duct. I think they do run a little bit of a brake duct on the rear here. Could be a lot of little odds and ends under the car.
What's fresh off the wire, Jeff Gordon's tough season continues. Multiple left rear tire problems tonight. No evidence of contact with another car. And here's Jeff Gordon, team audio.
Got tires flat again. Tires flat again. Inside. Got 2 more coming. Hang on to it. Yeah, we got something broke here, boys.
And that's what's fresh off the wire, served to you by KFC. Come in and taste why fresh is better.
But you know what, Mike? Listen to Jeff Gordon's voice. He wasn't screaming, he wasn't hollering, he just kind of, hey, we got something broke here, boys. Nice, calm, under control. I guess the way his year's going, he just kind of gotten accustomed to it.
Well, truly, the dark cloud that floated over Casey Kane the first few races of this season, when Kane couldn't get his season on track, that cloud's moved right over the 24.
It started, just think back to Daytona. The man was upside down at Daytona, and the rest of the year has been upside down. He just can't get it uprighted.
But the guys talked about Casey Kane in the pre-race. If you look at his first 6 races, he was 31st in the points. He has followed it up now with 4 consecutive top 10s, comes into Darlington 19th in the points.
Well, it's not lack of performance. It's like Jeff Gordon. It's not lack of performance. It's just bad racing luck.
And Gordon still sits on pit road as here comes Johnson inside of Carl Edwards and moving up to 8th. You know, Denny Hamlin so far has fared pretty well despite not coming to pit road for tires. He remains in second, 1.7 seconds off the lead.
Short term. Let's see how it ends up here in a little bit, because those tires, the other guys are going to catch up. His tires are going to give up quicker, and the other guys are going to catch him.
You know, I like the old school driving suit that Denny Hamlin has on with the stripes running from the shoulder all the way down to the ankle. What I like better, Cale Yarborough autographed that suit for him in the pre-race.
Yeah, well, if Denny wants to win this race, he's going to have to do a Cale Yarborough and pull them gloves all the way up over his elbows.
Now, the other thing that Denny Hamlin and his team will be faced with is he's going to have to make that green flag pit stop in about 25 laps should we stay green.
There's Hall of Famer Cale Yarborough.
I tell you, that's one of the toughest men that ever sat behind the wheel of a race car right there. He was a wheel man.
Great to see Cale here. David Pearson was here earlier in the week, Darlington's all-time winner. And Hamlin was 10th when he stayed out and continues to run second just ahead of Martin Truex.
Look at that line Tony Stewart has found, guys. That low line allows you to get after that gas a little bit harder and be more confident, more aggressive when you're racing other competitors. When you're out next to that outside wall, man, you're breathing a little bit hard because you know one slip and you're in it. I love what Tony's doing. I love how this car's come alive. Look for him to be strong the last of this race.
Yeah, we played some radio transmission earlier. Tony Stewart observed some other drivers running that line. Think now he's trying it.
Yeah, mainly Jimmy Johnson. It really worked good for him. But remember, this is one of the, what is it, only 2 tracks that Tony hadn't won at, and this is one of them.
And that other track we've only raced at once, Kentucky.
Now we're looking at Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 car. He's running in the 15th position. He is up on that wheel right now because he's the first driver a lap down, wanting a caution so bad right now. I definitely think they've made his car better.
And the next car a lap down is that yellow car of A.J. Allmendinger. Here comes Stewart, hunting 3rd place.
Now this is kind of the way I like to see a driver run this race. He kind of not in the mix, laying back, working on the car, finding your groove. And now he's starting to step it up. We're in the second half of the race. Now you show what you got.
Fastest car on the track by almost a 1/10 of a second is our leader, Casey Kane. Kane Chevrolet in front of Hamlin's Toyota now by 2 seconds.
NASCAR on Fox, presented by GoDaddy.com, is sponsored by Sprint. Avoid a data dilemma with truly unlimited data. Go to sprint.com/speed.
220 laps complete. Our Dodge Chargers of the race. A.J. Allmendinger 16th. Brad Keselowski 27th. Dinger 1 lap down. And Keselowski 2 laps in arrears. With another flat left rear tire, Jeff Gordon takes his Hendrick Chevrolet to the garage. Now, based on the cars out of the race at this moment, he could finish as low as 36th tonight.
You know, I was asking about the 99, what was wrong, because something definitely has happened to that car. Kristen, do you know what's wrong with it?
Well, it took 2 tires on that last pit stop, Daryl, and if he said anything on the restart, the team did not hear it because they've been having radio issues all night. They said he did not say anything. They've switched their radio channel 3 different times. Right now, Carl telling crew chief Bob Osborne, I just don't have any grip.
Wow. Meanwhile, his teammate Greg Biffle shoots past Tony Stewart into 4th place. They're about 4 seconds behind race leader Casey Kane as Biffle working his way back to the front.
And Carl is sitting in a pretty precarious situation. You know, he's 11th in the points, doesn't have any wins, and this could be a big blow to him tonight.
2-time Australian V8 Supercar champ Marcus Ambrose has been up in the wall once again.
Yeah, he's had a rough night. He's 2 laps down back in the 25th. You'll see it right here coming up off turn 4.
He was racing Regan Smith, last year's winner.
That's a pretty hard lick right there when you see blue smoke.
And Danica Patrick in her first Darlington Cup race is the first car 3 laps down in 30th position.
Keep racing that racetrack. Beautiful. Pull away from them boys. Some of those guys are running with their left right on that dotted line.
I want to be down on that dotted line. Trusting.
Simple. Keep taking care of that equipment. Save those tires.
New spotter for her this week, Tab Boyd.
Yeah, and what a phenomenal job he's doing.
Wasn't he Montoya's spotter for quite some time, so he's certainly got experience working with drivers with an open wheel racing background.
Doing a nice job.
Guys, she's outrunning Juan Montoya right here and trying to pass the guy that won last week's race. You have to give her an A+ for tonight's performance. Sure, she's a few laps down, but man, this is she's earning respect now, guys.
Well, Michael, she finished 12th in the race last night. Now, anybody that before she came here would have said if she'd have finished in the top 30, they would have thought that was pretty good. She finished 12th last night, and this baby ain't over with yet. She could be in pretty good shape when it's all said and done. And you know, last week, what did we have? 25, 30 cars that could have won the race. Tonight, this joint, this racetrack separates that. I mean, all you got to be off just a little bit, and you're going to be in trouble. If you're good, you're going to make everybody look bad. That's kind of the way this joint goes.
While Casey Kane leads this race by 2 seconds, his Hendrick teammate Jeff Gordon is in the garage. Steve.
And Mike, it's really interesting to see what's going on down here. They have literally had tape measures out as they're looking at the rear end housing, the rear suspension points. It's still a mystery. Jeff Gordon in the race car as we speak.
The frustration mounts.
You know, my big fear was exactly what might be happening here with Denny Hamlin in the 11. I know he's still holding in second spot, but because he has not been to pit road since lap 173, within about 6 to 8 laps, Denny Hamlin's going to have to make a green flag pit stop. All these other drivers can go much further than that.
Well, I think they've learned something that could be important later on, Larry, because Hamlin's last lap was 0.2 of a second faster than race leader Casey Kane.
But just think about how this race is ebb and flowed. We had the 16 car took off and led the race. Then the 48 car led the race. Then the 11 car led the race. I mean, it's kind of been, the track comes to different people at different times.
Right now it's come to Denny Hamlin because you see he is eroding Casey Kane's lead. Kane last year led 124 laps, more than any other driver in the Southern 500.
Now, Mike, if you remember my mid-race report, once we get into green flag pit stops and a driver hits pit road, you can't be far behind. What Denny Hamlin will do is get a huge advantage, and there's the caution that Denny Hamlin needed. Big time.
Debris in turn 3 up high will put us under caution for the 3rd time tonight. This caution waves at lap 230. And Casey Kane's lead disappears.
Who gets the lucky dog here, Mike?
That would be the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr., Darrell. And he'll be back on the lead lap. So we should restart with at least 15 lead lap cars. And we're now at 137 laps to go.
I said it when the caution came out, but I have to stress it. That is a huge break for Denny Hamlin and his race team, because we were getting a report 4 to 5 laps he was going to be on pit road making his green flag stop. So that the gamble paid off as much as I questioned it when they did it.
And he was the only car on the lead lap or even 2 or 3 laps down that would have had to pit that early. A lot of action on pit road. Grab that volume knob and give it a crank up. Denny Hamlin wins it. He gets a double benefit from this caution flag.
I mean, I guess when you're on it, you're on it.
3rd caution flag of the night. Close by inches. Denny Hamlin wins the race off pit road from Greg Biffle. $134 laps to go in Darlington County, South Carolina. We're under the 3rd caution flag of the night. Let's review what happened on pit stops. Matt.
And Mike, a great stop you documented by the guys on the 11. Denny Hamlin said that basically that the car was too free down in 1 and 2, so they made 2 different adjustments to try to help that. Krista?
Martin Truex saying his car's still pretty good. I can make it do what I want to some extreme. Don't tighten it up. He also said when he got beat off pit road, boys, that was our chance. Steve?
Krista, on the pit stop previous, Tony Stewart took just 2 tires. On this stop, they took 4 tires, and they also made a chassis adjustment. Dick?
And on the prior pit stop, Casey Kane's crew had given him just 2 tires, and that had given Kane the lead. He came in as the leader, went out in 7th position. On the stop, Jackman Jeff Kerr slipped just ever so slightly. That's all it takes.
Thanks, Dick. Joey Logano up into the top 5 after this round of pit stops. 4th place. I believe that's the highest he's been all evening. Last night's winner in the preliminary. 11 cars take the wave around. That will should put Jamie McMurray back up there on the lead lap. The wave around is eligible to cars that choose not to pit and are positioned behind the pace car but in front of the leader when we get the 1 to go sign.
I see a lot of drivers that ran in last night's race maybe paying off, that's having good runs, like Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, Casey Kane.
I think it really does, Larry, and I think here particularly because you know the track, you know the tire. This tire, they had a little tire issue last night, but everything seemed to be fine tonight. But I think there's a lot to be learned from racing here last night.
So race leader Denny Hamlin elects the outside lane. Greg Biffle the inside. Then Truex, Logano, Kyle Busch, Stewart, Kane and Johnson, Harvick and Boyer the top 10. The rest of the lead lap cars: Edwards, Kenseth, Kurt Busch, Newman, Earnhardt, and McMurray. 16 lead lap cars. It'll be 132 laps to go. Green flag. Hamlin pulls away from Biffle down toward turn number 1. Biffle looks low, way low, down to the apron, looking for the lead. Off turn 2, Biffle draws even and flutters.
Oh, he can't. Oh boy!
The transition to the apron got Greg Biffle.
Yes, sir. He had a run going, but he couldn't hold it.
And Martin Truex Jr. in the 56 car, he takes advantage. Kyle Busch in the 18 trying to do as well.
That loss of momentum by Biffle really hurt him. He may drop all the way to 4th here.
It really does. It really does, Mike. You lose that momentum off that corner, you're a setting duck.
Let's show you how Greg Biffle, our pole sitter, lost position. Watch that white line. That's the transition from the banking to the apron.
You can see it starts wassing with him, and he did a whale of a job just to stay off of Denny Hamlin and hang on to the car. Got down on that flat, and she unloaded a little bit on him.
Wow. Yeah, that's sideways at about 170 miles per hour.
Look at that thing. She's moving. Look at his hands in there. Come on, baby. Come on. Get a bite. Hold on to something.
But Darrell, you're right. He was trying as much as anything to stay off Denny Hamlin in that 11.
Yes, sir.
So Biffle sits 4th and is trying to come back against Kyle Busch for the 3rd spot. Dick?
And Biffle has told the crew the car is really loose, Mike.
Yes, it is.
Especially with 2 left side tires down below the racetrack on the apron.
Dick, if he'll get up on the track, it may not be that loose.
3 Toyotas at the front of the field. Hamlin, Truex, and Busch. Then Biffle's Ford and Stewart and Johnson's Chevrolet.
And I love Greg Biffle. There's nobody that tries, and always trying as hard as he can every lap.
Pretty good night for Joe Gibbs Racing. They finished 1-2 last night. And here's Hamlin and Busch 1st and 3rd with Logano still in the top 10. You know, Marcus Ambrose in the 9 and the 27 of Paul Menard haven't been more than 4 or 5 car lengths apart the whole evening. Some nights are just like that.
Yeah, and Paul Menard in the 27, he's 1 lap down back in the 19th spot. Marcus Ambrose is 2 down back in the 27th position.
You know, that means something to us. But when you're out there in the race car, that doesn't mean anything. That's the guy you're racing.
And how about Mark Martin 1 lap down, Krista?
You know, Mike, they've really been struggling all weekend. Mark's saying his car just wasn't happy yesterday. They went with the same rear end housing that Martin Truex has. Rodney Childers thought maybe that's what Mark doesn't like, so they changed it back this morning.
Yeah, Darrell and I were talking earlier today. It's like Mark Martin in the 55 or whatever car he's driving. When he rolls in a racetrack and he's good in practice, you can count on him being there in the race. It's rare that he struggles in practice and finds it in the race.
Yeah, you know, every time he's good, he leads practice. He wins practice. Hadn't even been close here.
So Hamlin's your leader, Truex 2nd. Busch, Biffle, and Stewart. Casey Kane, who had been leading, is back in 8th spot right now after leading 32 laps.
Yep, she just ebbs and flows. Somebody gets out there and they lead a while, and then somebody else takes over and leads a while.
4th place, Tony Stewart, looking for Greg Biffle's spot.
That 14 car, he and that 48 are, I think they're real serious contenders. Whoa, you just saw Greg. He did not know Jimmy was there. And the spotter must have hollered at him underneath, inside, and it gave him some room.
Well, and I think as Dick Berggren pointed out and reported, Greg Biffle has a pretty loose race car right now.
How loose is it? Watch this.
Just watch the hands.
The hands don't lie, do they? When you see the right side door numbers coming at you like that, that's not good.
And the worst thing that a driver wants to hear, hang on to her, it'll come to you.
Well, I'd say right now Martin Truex has himself in pretty good position, 0.4 of a second behind race leader Denny Hamlin, because as we've noticed all night, Truex's car has always improved the longer the green flag runs.
Martin Truex Jr. would love so much to get the victory lane again. You can see it's been all the way back to Dover, June of 2007, almost 5 years, and that's his one and only career win in the Sprint Cup Series.
Well, from the end of last year, or last several races of last year, and the start of this year, that's been a really good car that could have won a number of races.
122 laps to go in the Bojangles Southern 500 on Fox. Welcome back to NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox, presented by GoDaddy.com. Denny Hamlin, your leader, by a little less than half a second over Martin Truex Jr. And Kyle Busch 1.8 seconds back. All in Toyotas, then the Chevys of Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart. The Ford of pole sitter Greg Biffle in 6th. Joey Logano, Casey Kane, Kevin Harvick, Clint Bowyer are the top 10, and Bowyer had benefit of a free pass earlier in the race on the first caution and has worked himself up into the top 10. 16 cars on the lead lap, 114 laps to go. Greg Biffle fighting a very loose race car, as he's told his crew, and Biffle has dropped back to 6th place.
That thing's like a skateboard now. It's all over the place. It's hung out even. I think it's loose on the straightaway. You know, we rode with Jimmy Johnson earlier in the evening when he was leading the race. See if we can get up in the car with him again and see how this car is looking now, because he had the setup for the track about 100 laps ago. You can see there 183, 4 miles an hour down into turn 3. Just look at that black mark. The black marks go all the way up against the wall. The tire marks come down the front 179 into turn 1. But here's where you really make time. Get in the gas, got to play with the throttle a little bit, but get this long run down the back straightaway. Quite a bit faster.
Wow, 185. Battle for 10th place. We mentioned Bowyer in 10th. Kurt Busch trying to run him down, and boy, Busch has been up and down the ladder all evening here.
But he's been up and down the ladder on pit road. He's got a good race car. He's doing a phenomenal job, but he loses so much ground every time he comes to pit road with his 51 car.
In fairness, Larry, it's a team well funded by James Finch out of his own pocket, with good cars and engines they get from Hendrick, and a champion level driver, but it's a small team. They don't have the depth of the big teams and all-star pit crews.
Well, I tell you one thing, that's the drive of the night so far for me. Sitting there running in 10th place, what a job.
6th place, Joey Logano passes a fading Greg Biffle.
And I'm so glad to see this run for Joey Logano on that 20 car. I talked to Joey last night after his win in that race last night, and his confidence level is up. He has won 3 of the support races. Started off the season with 2 top 10 finishes, and I can almost see his confidence going down. But I think to come have this good of a run at this racetrack has to help him so much.
And you saw the little wave he gave out the window net to Greg Biffle. Thanks for giving me room. Thanks for letting me pass you clean. I'll return the favor when it's appropriate.
Little courtesy wave.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Means a lot to the guy you just drove by.
Kevin Harvick in 9th, 8.5 seconds off the lead.
Yeah, Larry, Joey was a little shaken after that win last night because he got into the back of Elliott Sadler on the restart, wrecked him, and I know he felt bad about that. I know Elliott was pretty upset. That hurts your confidence too. Even though you're standing in victory circle, you got to make excuses.
We'll mention Jeff Gordon is back in the race, 28 laps down after some time in the garage to try and figure out what was cutting down left rear tires. Gordon continues in 35th as Denny Hamlin leads Martin Truex by half a second.
NASCAR on Fox is presented by GoDaddy.com. Domains, websites, and everything in between. And sponsored by Toyota Care. Complimentary on every new Toyota. Caring for you and your car. 101 laps to go. Who will be Mr. Bojangles in Darlington, South Carolina? Time for an AT&T race break. Along with Michael Walsh and Chris Myers from the Hollywood Hotel, and keeping an eye on Denny Hamlin. Why has Denny Hamlin been so good on some of the toughest tracks? Every time he's raced here, he's finished in the top 15, and he's leading now.
I just think it's confidence. The first time he ever drove on the place, he got a top 10 finish in the support race on Saturday. He likes this place. He's got a lot of confidence in his crew, and he believes in himself. You have to have that here at Darlington.
Wasn't too long ago questions about Kyle Busch, but that he wins in Richmond, finishes second in Talladega, and hanging in there with this one.
I talked to his crew chief, Dave Rogers, and he said, we went back to basics. We were trying new stuff to get better. It wasn't working. We went back to basics at Richmond, won the race. He was second last week. He's got a chance to win again tonight.
Now, Jimmie Johnson came in leading the most laps of any driver, but no wins, and obviously he's been around the top, led early in this race. Big difference between leading laps and winning races.
Man, it's so hard, Chris. It's so difficult to get one of these victories. Just think about what Denny Hamlin had to do to get the lead here tonight. They didn't change any tires. They stayed out under caution, gained track position. He's been able to maintain it. Will Jimmie Johnson have to make a call like that late in the going to try to get up front and then hold on? Who knows?
I've been mentioning Denny Hamlin, a two-time winner. Tony Stewart, defending champ, trying to win his third race of the year already, but has not made it all the way to the front.
But man, I love his car. You get bunched up on a late restart with the way he can work the bottom and others can't, could be an advantage for Tony Stewart.
And Greg Biffle here, who led and dominated early. He's the points leader, the pole sitter, trying to win. Now, his car is fading. Is he making some adjustments? We've heard about being loose here, but is he waiting to make his move later in the race?
I think it's really interesting. He was strong when the sun was going down, but went all the way down and the track started rubbering up. He started slipping and sliding. His car was good early, not good late. Could be just that he was set up for the green track, and now that it's rubbered up, no good.
Yeah, we've been going the first 100 laps before the sun set, and it got dark as we checked the AT&T Fastest Driver Challenge. Greg Biffle, Jimmie Johnson, and you can text to Fastest Driver, AT&TFastestDriver.com, or 34763, and the lyrics of Bruce Springsteen and Darlington County. Come on, baby, Mike, take a seat on my fender. It's a long night, and tell me, what else were you going to do? Is that something how it goes like that?
Heading down to Darlington County.
Oh, you sing. I'll get the lyrics proper.
Denny Hamlin out in front with Martin Truex second. Now, could this be a reversal of fortune of what happened in Kansas when these two battled? Truex led 173 laps, but after the final pit stop, then the sun came out and Hamlin ended up in victory lane.
But who I'm watching, Chris and Michael just talked about him, is Kyle Busch in that 18 car. His lap time's a little bit better than Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., and we're now within about a 10 to 12 lap window of what'll be green flag pit stops again.
I tell you, those Joe Gibbs cars right now running first, third, and sixth. They got this joint figured out tonight. They look pretty strong.
There's Logano in sixth place. He's 8 seconds back. He has about a second on Greg Biffle, and he lacks a second from Tony Stewart, the fifth place car.
Yeah, remember, he made an extra pit stop under one of those early cautions because, talking about Joey Logano, because they needed to make repairs to his right side.
So there's Stewart in fifth. Keep an eye on Jimmie Johnson in fourth. He restarted 10th up to fourth spot, but everyone's chasing Denny Hamlin. Greg Biffle comes to pit road, joining A.J. Allmendinger. And now Denny Hamlin comes in, and that should bring everybody to pit road. Biffle, fighting a loose race car, had to come in a lap before the rest of the lead lap cars, but now here they all come. Dick?
And you can guess, Mike, they're going to do everything they can to try and tighten Biffle's car up.
Martin Truex saying his race car getting tight, saying I just can't get to Denny Hamlin. Chad Johnson, crew chief, said we'll help you out. Matt?
Danny Hamlin stopped a little bit deeper in his box. He said the car really had gone away, Steve, really tight.
Jimmie Johnson off pit road said he was free off of 2, free off of 4 tires, and a chassis adjustment.
Yeah, that was a classic case of Denny Hamlin being the Pied Piper. When he hit pit road, all those other drivers had to come with him.
So that leaves Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Ryan Newman out on the racetrack as the leaders. Logano completes his stop, and here comes Newman.
Hello, Newman.
There's our leader, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 car. Got that free pass on the last caution, but he'll need to come to pit road here pretty quick. Looks like he may be coming this time.
But he got him a point, Larry.
One championship point for leading a lap here. And Earnhardt will surrender the lead, which may cycle back here to Martin Truex.
I think you're right, Mike, because Truex is just ahead of Denny Hamlin right now. And I thought when Truex maybe got out front, little clean air on the nose of that Toyota, he might be able to do what the 11 car did to him.
Steve.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying, leave this thing a little bit snug. Don't change much. 4 tires, fuel, and they're going to make a small air pressure adjustment.
He will come back out. Hamlin had a half-second lead on Truex before the pit stops. Now watch how they raced off pit road behind Bobby Labonte's car. Now this is all under green. Pretty close right there.
Yeah, that's a tie right there.
But Truex had the open lane.
I think that was the difference right there, because looking at my stat sheet here, their pit stops were identical. That's the difference. Martin Truex Jr. had wide open track. Denny Hamlin gets boxed in behind Bobby Labonte in a 47.
So Truex can build speed, and Hamlin's got to wait till that lane opens up, and there's the difference.
We talked about how narrow the racetrack is, and it's hard to race up there. These guys don't care. They'll race on the apron too. That was an awesome battle off pit road. Shows you how important track position is. Martin was able to grab it away from Denny.
With that pit stop, it is now a one-stop race. If we stay green, they'll be on pit road somewhere around lap 330, which is about 35, 36 laps to go.
So Kyle Busch is now a second behind the 2 leaders. Jimmy Johnson 2.5 back. Tony Stewart 6.7 back.
I tell you, the guy I think really will be benefit from that round of pit stops, Greg Biffle. Car was really bad. Here we got a tight battle between these two.
And this is for the lead.
I believe Denny might be a little motivated after getting boxed in over there behind Bobby Labonte.
Well, I'd say that, and then dominating last night and coming up a spot short to his teammate Joey Logano.
In that round of green flag pit stops, Danica Patrick entering pit road, trying to maintain speed, a little wide there, and Coney goes for another ride. That will be a drive-through penalty for Ms. Patrick.
The cone.
It's had a rough night tonight.
It's just always in the wrong place.
Let's take an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. Jimmy Johnson has led 85 laps tonight so far. That's the most of anybody. And Kevin Harvick is the biggest mover, up to 8th place after starting 23rd. Check out the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app on your Android-powered device, only on the Sprint network, the only national carrier with truly unlimited data. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. '79 laps and at least 1 pit stop to go. We've had 3 caution flags tonight. The first one didn't fly until lap 172. So 16 cars currently on the lead lap, with A.J. Allmendinger, the first car, 1 lap down.
We talked at the top of the show about what Jeff Gordon had said about racing 42 other drivers and racing this racetrack. But the other thing that these drivers and their teams are racing is an ever-changing racetrack. You talked about Kevin Harvick, who started in 23rd, not very good when this race started, but I think they were patient. They made minor changes to his race car, and I think now they've got it dialed into the conditions we've got.
I think the guys that really, they know this racetrack. And again, I'll go back to the guys that raced last night. Guys that know what this racetrack was going to do when the sun went down, the change the track was going to go through. They set their cars up accordingly, and it's really paying off. And there's Jimmy Johnson, and he's motoring back to the front.
Yeah, Kyle Busch had a strange entry into that corner where the car bounced, slid up the racetrack, and Jimmy shot past into third place, Matt.
Mike, on the stop, Kyle Busch said the car was on the tighter side to leave it alone, so there were no adjustments. And he just told Dave Rogers right before Jimmy passed him that the car was just absolutely too free on exit this run.
Kevin Harvick on the tail of Joey Logano now for 7th place. 9 seconds behind the leader.
That 29 car has really come alive. And you watch him down here, that's off turn 2. Watch where he goes when he gets down here to turn 3 and 4. He's just really been hooking the bottom and making good time around the bottom of 3 and 4. And he's going to clear Logano, come up in front of him, and make a nice pass.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick's just able to pick that throttle up so much earlier. Still has to play with it a little bit, but that speed carries all the way down these straightaways.
He's running kind of a David Pearson sort of race. Pearson has 10 wins here, 12 poles, the most of any driver. And David oftentimes wouldn't lead a lot in the early going. Harvick's nickname, the closer, could well have been applied to Pearson at a place like Darlington.
I would say it's more like, where did he come from?
Yeah, that too.
And we see that. We've seen that at Darlington time and time again. People that we really don't think a lot about, that maybe they have a shot at winning, as the race winds down, their cars get better, they saved a little bit, and here they come.
Greg Biffle led a lot early. He was the pole sitter, and he's led 74 laps. But Biffle trying to fight his way back now from 6th place. Jeff Gordon back on track after 28 laps in the garage. Matt, did they ever figure out what was happening on the left rear?
Mike, I talked to Alex Gutchison and Doug Dukart from Hendrick Motorsports. Both said they simply are not sure. They thought after the initial flat that some of the debris from that flat tire might have done some damage in the crush panel area or something else. That's when they thought they got the second flat. They took it back in the garage, could not find anything. What they did do was open up the wheel well opening a little bit to give more clearance, but at this juncture, unsure.
Yeah, he had that second flat less than 5 laps into the run after they had changed that left rear tire.
And then had a 3rd flat and went to the garage. He is now in 35th place.
Well, you run the air down about 20 pounds on the left side tire. That tire could have gotten into something, you know, flex rolled itself into something underneath the car and just cut itself down.
Casey Kane has led 33 laps tonight. Last year led the most laps here. He passes Joey Logano, and Kane moves up to 8th.
And remember, Casey Kane was leading when that 3rd caution came out and had that bad pit stop. He's been trying to overcome that ever since then.
But now, Larry, the 5 car, Casey Kane, they've got some consistency going now. They're not out there struggling like they were early in the year. They've got this car figured out. They're starting to get top 5, top 10 finishes. He's really it looks a lot better the last several weeks.
Yeah, 3 straight top 5s, and and around goes Bobby Labonte.
Get off, get off, get off.
Still under green. Labonte stops. Caution is out. 4th caution flag of the night at lap 298 for Labonte. Right side tires down now on the 47, but let's see what happens here.
Just got loose on the exit of turn 4, and back just comes around with him.
He was 29th, running 3 laps off the lead.
Boy, this is the time of the race. You've been out there grinding for a long time, a lot of green flag races. Those things get just a little harder to hold on to now than they were earlier in the evening.
And this is a time of a race when we get a caution where everybody's just outside of their fuel window of being able to make it to the end.
I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to hope it goes caution for about 4 or 5 laps. I'm coming back in. If I'm about mid-pack, I'm going to top up and roll the dice.
Ooh, stretch that fuel mileage. The free pass goes to Jamie McMurray. He was the first of 6 cars 1 lap down. So when we restart again, there'll be 16 cars on the lead lap. Pit road is open. Martin Truex Jr. leads them in front of Krista.
And Mike, this is not what Martin Truex wanted to see. He wanted it to stay green. They were so good on the long runs. He said, I was a little loose to start, but I don't want you to tighten it up too much, Steve.
Krista, Jimmy Johnson into his pit box cleanly. He said to Chad Canals, I need to be tighter, longer. 4 tires and 2 tires, Matt.
And they are 6 laps short of making it to the end. 4 tires for Denny Hamlin.
Dick. And Greg Biffle is in pit road at this point. Pull the windshield. They're also going to do 4 tires. Going to try to get this chassis finally right.
Martin Truex led Kyle Busch and Jimmy Johnson off pit road. Why is Tony Stewart still there, Steve?
Well, he's got some kind of a problem with his clutch and transmission, Mike. They're going to jack it up and take a look at it. But again, it's a clutch problem or clutch pedal problem is what we're hearing Tony say.
Yeah, at first I thought they were going to change left side tires, a different strategy, but they were looking under the left side of the car.
Throw out bearings.
They'll have to push start it if he can get going.
The field's in the middle of 3 and 4 right now. Looks like he gets it cranked and going.
Yeah, you know, other than for your pit stop, you can pretty much, you don't really need a clutch.
Well, Stewart was in 5th place at the time of the caution. Down to Chris Myers.
And let's get a quick recap, Mike. Jimmy Johnson has led the most laps, 85. But pole sitter Greg Biffle next on that list at 74. Danica Patrick went a lap down on lap 28 and a couple laps down after that. You see how this looks before, and then once they start, that's the Darlington stripe.
That's one of the best ever at Darlington, striping it up. And just about half the field has scraped against that outside wall. Marcus Ambrose been in it more than once.
And you notice from the daylight to the darkness and dark days for Jeff Gordon, not 1 but 2 flat tires in the garage. He has returned but slipped back to 24th in points and fading. Meanwhile, Martin Truex Jr. 177 races since his last and only win. In pretty good position. Your thoughts on the recent round of pit stops?
Well, most of the front runners took 2. Denny Hamlin, though, it's interesting to me, they didn't get any tires on a pit stop, didn't even pit, gain track position, but that time to pit road, they got 4 tires. You can see he's lined up just a couple of cars behind Truex, so 4 tires will be interesting to see if he can do anything with the 4 cars in front of him.
67 laps to go. Guys like Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, a surprising and impressive run from Joey Logano.
Joey Logano came here for his first time a couple years ago and finished in the top 10. Anytime you can do that means you get Darlington. You understand how to race here, and Joey Logano is proving that tonight.
And Darrell, Larry, and Mike addressing Kevin Harvick, the closer. Is he in position for his first win of the year? Stay tuned. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Whose name and picture will be etched on that Southern 500 trophy? We are 65 laps from finding out. Taking the wave around, Allmendinger, Menard, Regan Smith, Almirola all getting back on the lead lap. 11 cars in all took the wave around. Matt Kenseth and Tony Stewart just came in to top off the tanks, Larry. 64 laps. Can anybody make it?
Oh, I would not rule it out. You know, the race pace is getting faster, but the race pace, I think, will allow you to go further than what you maybe think you can go. We've got 6 drivers that went with just 2 right side tires on that stop.
Here's the better question. If you did make it,
Truex
where'd you end up?
And Kyle Busch restart on the front row. It'll be 64 to go. Jimmy Johnson with Joey Logano, row 2. Denny Hamlin, Casey Kane, Newman, Harvick, Biffle, and Edwards, the top 10. They are all stacked up for the restart. As Truex hauls them down to turn 1 from the inside of row 1.
Yeah, the lady in black, she's been snoozing a little bit, but I think she's getting ready to have a little wake-up call here.
Jimmy Johnson to second. Kyle Busch settles in third. Hamlin, Newman, the top 5, and Logano then it's side by side inside of is Biffle trying to fight his way back to the front. Then Stewart and Kurt Busch.
A little pushing and shoving going on all back through the field here. Everybody trying to get a position. It's now or never.
Biffle inside Logano. Slice, dice, 6th place.
I believe that the Biff's got his car back up under him. He's looking good.
Well, and Greg Biffle, he got 4 tires under that caution there. Joey Logano on the 20 went with 2.
Tony Stewart took him 3 wide into turn 3.
Yeah, Smoke's got a little making up to do here. You know, he lost a little time in the pits. Got to go, baby.
He's after it, but he's in 16th place. Casey Kane up high is going to fall a spot to Kurt Busch. Maybe, maybe not.
Boy, that takes so much. I mean, that takes trust to come off that second turn side by side like that.
Kurt Busch way to the bottom against Kane, and now Edwards.
Hard to make it stick unless you got a perfect car around that inside of 3 and 4. Lost the momentum off that corner, and there went Carl flying by.
And Kurt slips to 11. Yellow flag.
Caution's out, caution's out, caution's out. One spun off turn 4. Track will be clear when you...
Last year's winner spins in turn number 4. Regan Smith from near Syracuse, New York. And the caution is out at lap 306.
Lady in black wants some Mother's Day presents.
A.J. Allmendinger got into a little dust up there.
I'll take a bumper. I'll take a fender.
Regan Smith was 20th, and this will put Jeff Burton back on the lead lap with the free pass. Watch for the black car, 78. From the right of your screen.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
I think he was trying to get on pit road, guys. That's way down on the bottom of the racetrack there, like he was headed for pit road.
And was just going too fast to make it.
Yep.
Scrunched up the right front a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's maybe why he was obviously coming to pit road. I think he had been into the wall 2 or 3 times. We know he was in the wall earlier.
Yeah, he's got some problems with the car. The nose is all crinkled up like he ran into the back of somebody or something.
I didn't see any yellow paint on his nose, but we saw the back of Allmendinger's car all pushed in.
Yeah, I think that's a mathematical equation. His front to his rear. Yeah, that works.
Darrell, you were talking about waking the lady up. Joey Logano and Kevin Harvick, just before that caution, turned their fastest laps of the race. We got a lot of takers to pit road because now we are actually in that fuel window. Krista.
There were a lot of shrugs down here in Martin Truex's pit. They didn't know what they were going to do. Chad Johnson, crew chief, said, bring it to us. They think they can make enough fuel. 2 left side tires for Martin Truex.
Well, he gets out trapped behind Harvick. Matt?
And Ryan Newman, all he's going to do is fuel only the call on the 39. Dick, what about the 5?
4 tires for Casey Kane.
Junior fuel only, too.
Boy, varying strategies here. With 59 laps to go. They didn't even tape up the rear bumper on Allmendinger's car. Just let him go. And Regan Smith will get some surgery on the right front and the left front of his car.
I'm thinking.
Look at this.
Yeah,
Johnson stayed out, and he is going into hypermiling mode, shutting the car off and coasting the waves.
I mean, I know we have electronic fuel injection, but the engine off, it's still, Michael, I mean, you're saving fuel if the engine's not running.
Yeah, and last week at Talladega, guys, I was afraid that it wouldn't start back up. I'd heard all the horror stories, but I needed to save some fuel, and I shut it off and coasted, and you flip the switch back on, and she goes just fine. So these guys that stayed out, they're counting on making it to the finish and it being green till the end. And if that's the case, old Martin Truex is in trouble.
That's what I was thinking, Michael. I just don't think I'd have come to pit road, and he had a shot at winning this thing. I'd have stayed up front.
Steve?
Chad Canals told Jimmy Johnson, we're 3 laps shy of making it to the end. Save me everything you can.
Well, in all these caution laps, that helps because it's about a 2-to-1 ratio, green to yellow, that will help the fuel mileage.
And And let me explain a rule clarification NASCAR had to make to the teams. You are allowed to push another car except on the lead on the last lap of the race. That's always been the rule. The rule has now been updated that you're allowed to push a car that needs to get back to pit road.
Exactly.
You're not allowed to push a car under caution to help him save fuel. Not that Kyle Busch right behind Jimmy Johnson would push him, but if there was a teammate there or even another car of the same make, you might request assistance if you were in this position, but it's not available.
At some point in time, I'd like to get with somebody and I'd like to know exactly how much fuel they think this saves.
Well, if Jimmy Johnson makes it to the winner's circle, we'll know.
Yeah, it's got to be minuscule. It can't be much, but then we're not sometimes talking about much either.
We're hearing Tony Stewart is also 3 laps shy of making it on this tank of fuel. How about Casey Kane, Dick?
He is no laps shy on making it on fuel, Mike, and they took 4 tires on that last stop, so Kane's in great shape.
Matt, how about the 18?
And the 2 Gibbs teammates, the 18 of Busch and the 11 of Hamlin, they were both before the caution 6 laps short. Now, Denny Hamlin's crew chief Darian Grubb told him we are right on our window. That's why they stayed out, because if they pitted, they could have topped off and been good to go for a green-white checker, but then they would have lost all of that track position.
I'm just going to say that I think they're not going to have to worry, because I believe there will be another caution or 2, and they will be able to save their fuel under the next go-round.
Matt Kenseth's team reports he is 1 lap shy of making it.
But see, you save fuel, then you crank it up, drop it in gear, and gas it up.
Here's the neat thing, though, Darrell. After the race, the engineers will be able to download the data from the electronic control unit and look at it on their laptops, and they'll be able to determine, does this help? What Martin Truex and team have to say about all this.
Here's the deal. You've got 4 fresh tires. You're P11. Everybody in front of you is saving like crazy, 4 to 5 laps short. If it goes green, I mean, we're setting pretty.
But if it don't, we ain't going to be able to pass them.
That's the driver. That's what I would be saying.
Ryan Newman, currently 9th, is the first car who pitted under this caution. So the 8 in front of him. Johnson, Kyle Busch, Hamlin, Biffle, Logano, Edwards, Kenseth, and Stewart did not stop. Here we go. 56 laps to go. Kyle Busch down on the bottom. Johnson gets the drive through the center of the corner and the lead.
It looks good on that inside going into the corner, but then that always gets that good momentum off the back straightaway onto the off turn 2 down the back, and there goes Johnson.
Biffle is up to 3rd. He's regained all those positions he lost with a loose race car behind him. Boy, they fan right out.
There's another one back there that's made up a lot of time too, and that's a guy in the 14 car. Oh, we got a battle here for the lead. The 18's going by.
Kyle Busch takes it, and Johnson crosses under and tries to take it back.
The old crossover move. Haven't seen that for a while.
This is not saving fuel.
Well, while they're doing this, look at Greg Biffle on Pro Center. They have definitely made the right adjustments on his race car for him.
Oh, yeah, the Biff is back, baby. But I tell you, another guy's back, and he is coming in a hurry, too, is that 14 car, Tony Stewart. This is the best, man, this is the best part of the race. All of a sudden, everybody's a player.
Single file now in front of a near sellout crowd in Darlington, South Carolina. Harvick to the inside of Newman as they battle for 9th place. And right behind them, Kurt Busch and Martin Truex on those fresh tires.
Boy, Truex just put a move on
Harvick.
Kevin Harvick going down into turn 1 and made it stick. I don't think Harv liked that much.
Well, Truex has no time to waste, Darrell. He's got to take advantage of those fresh tires and make up some of that 3.7 seconds to the leader.
Harv says, I'm going to get that, boy.
While that's going on, Jimmy Johnson in that 48. Reeling back in.
Trouble, turn 4, 2 cars in the wall. It's McMurray and Allmendinger.
No caution yet. Caution's out.
Boy, McMurray's car, serious damage. So does Allmendinger as well.
Lap 316. Darrell? You were right. Caution, screen, caution.
Yeah, you can't race. Look, they haven't been racing this hard all night long. When you start racing this hard, here's what happens. Down underneath the guy, that back end steps out, I bet you, comes around, see the one car get loose, gets into the 22 of McMurray.
And this time, 8 wheels don't corner better than 4.
Yep, and into the wall they go.
Boy, Ambrose in that 9 just barely gets by.
He got clipped.
They were both back on the lead lap, fighting for 16th. Boy, the wall always wins.
Man, as you race down into that third turn, A.J. Allmendinger really was asking for that, guys. He had Jamie pinched way down, had plenty of room above him. Jamie got loose and it wrecked them both. It's not necessarily A.J.'s fault, but he could have avoided it by just sliding up the hill and letting Jamie have just a little breathing room. In hindsight, that would have been a good thing to do.
I don't know, bro. With about 50 laps to go, I ain't giving up nothing.
Now, the drivers that these cautions are benefiting are those drivers that we saw saving fuel under the last caution. There's about 7 of them out there that we know they're a little bit close on fuel.
Oh, they're fine now, Larry. This is all good.
Now, the old conventional wisdom, as Jimmy Johnson coasts along with the carbureted car, each caution lap burned about half as much fuel as a green flag lap. Does that ratio still hold?
It's still, with the engine running, it's still about 2 to 1, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, we got the same engine. And
right.
This engine's going to burn just as much fuel as it ever did. So, you know, like Larry says, if it's not running, it's not burning fuel. But I'm just not sure about turn it off, turn it on. Seems like I do damage to the engine.
Steve?
Chad Canals told Jimmy Johnson, we're going to have to stay out. We've made our bed. You know, they can't give up the track position. Jimmy just said 10-4.
Jeff Burton and Dale Earnhardt Jr. among the lead lap cars on pit road.
Yeah, Martin Truex with his 4 tires, he made up 1 spot.
You know, a lot of today's cars have stop-start technology where when you come up to a traffic light and you stop, the engine turns off, and as soon as you either depress the clutch or take your foot off the brake, the engine restarts. They don't have that in these cars. They sure are wearing out that switch on the dash, though.
But if it'll work, same technology on a street car is the same technology on a race car.
True.
Yeah, there's a reason it does that. It's saving fuel.
That's right.
Now just don't do any jackrabbit restarts and you'll be okay.
All right, Martin Truex audio.
I'm tense. We were leading. Now they're going to make it. We're screwed.
He's right. I don't blame him for being a little upset.
I'm not sure he's right, Darrell, because if they get a long green run from here, who's been the best on long green runs? Martin.
But we
now,
don't.
Can he make up 9 positions? That's the question.
We don't have long to go, though. That's the problem.
How about Denny Hamlin's team on this caution?
Turn your engine fan on, open your blue switch back up, get her cooled down and save fuel here. Pits are open, staying out, staying out. Of course, staying out.
I like that code. Turn on your blue switch.
There's a lot of switches in there. I have no idea what's the blue switch.
They got more pumps on these things. They got an auxiliary pump and a regular pump and a swirl pool, and I know they got all kind of things back in the fuel cell now.
Check that cap on Darian Grubb, honoring Cale Yarborough, one of this year's NASCAR Hall of Fame inductees. Grubb, last year's champion crew chief with Tony Stewart, has moved over to Denny Hamlin and found good success this season. Let's have a look at our GoDaddy.com race summary. Kyle Busch, now the leader. First of 21 lead lap cars. One of 9 different leaders tonight. 22 lead changes. And now the caution count stands at 6 for 29 laps. When they get the green next time by, 48 laps to go.
Yeah, that's a good little run here to the end, but we're going to have more cautions. When you group them up like this at the end of the race at Darlington, you're going to have cautions.
Now, last restart, we had Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Busch do crossover racing, trying to see who could establish a lead. Busch has elected the outside lane. Is that a good choice?
It worked for him, yeah. I think it is. You get that nice, you sail off into one, and you get that outside line going. You got the momentum off of 2, and I think that's a great move.
So it's Busch against Johnson, Toyota against Chevrolet, Ford against Toyota in row 2. That's Biffle and Hamlin. Then Stewart and Edwards, Kenseth, Logano, Newman, and Truex. Green flag with 21 lead lap cars racing for the win. 48 to go in Darlington.
See, it looks good right there going in the corner, but right here is where that outside really pays off. See that nice big run you get off turn 2. Whoa, he got up a little too high, but he held on to it.
Jamie McMurray down on the apron as everybody comes through, and Stewart battles Biffle and Hamlin.
Tony Stewart at 14 is a man on a mission right now.
He's never won here, but he sure wants to.
3 cars under a blanket for 3rd place. And they single file it out. McMurray made it around to pit road, so there are 20 lead lap cars. Now Stewart goes after Biffle for 4th place.
Yeah, he got the run off of 2. It took him all the way down the back straightaway, but here comes Biffle fighting back.
And Logano's been in the wall in turn 4, but continues.
That's pretty hard lick too. A lot of smoke, a lot of damage to the right side of the 20 car.
About to find out right here how bad it is. Looks okay.
He hit that wall hard. I don't know how it keeps going, but it is.
Logano now 14th.
Watch this thing. I mean, he bounces it off there good.
There you can see the car just got loose with him, started walking up the racetrack.
Yep, pretty hard hit.
Tough break for Joey, but he continues.
So you get up there in it, you can't get out of it. You get the what dirt there is up there next to the wall, and you're tired, you can't get out of it.
The lady just cradles you up there.
Yep, so Logano's 14th, right in front of Clint Boyer. As for the lead, Jimmy Johnson comes right back to Kyle Busch, whose older brother Kurt Busch in the 51 battles Ryan Newman for 9th.
There's O'Harv. He's sitting there in pretty good shape.
Casey Kane moves past and into 11th in the number 5.
Casey Kane, one of the drivers that came to pit road on that 5th caution and got 4 fresh tires on his 5 car.
For the lead, Jimmy Johnson goes after Kyle Busch going into turn number 3.
Hard to make it stick off the bottom of that corner, but he does have a nose alongside. Is it going to? Yes. That would have been a perfect place for a crossover, but they both went in a little hard. Looked like Busch's car.
Save your stuff a little bit.
Looked like Busch washed up and he couldn't make the crossover.
So Johnson back to the lead. He has led 89 laps tonight. This will be number 90, more than any other driver.
All he's got to worry about now, FUEL.
Smoke from Joey Logano's car might have a tire rub from that bout with the wall in turn 4. Dale Jr. goes by, and Boyer.
Yeah, Logano's got to be in trouble. I mean, that car rode the wall a long way. He's got to have some serious damage.
You know, Jimmy Johnson in that 48 is starting to pull away from Kyle Busch in the 18. And now Denny Hamlin, who just ran his fastest lap of the race about 3 or 4 laps ago, he's coming into the picture working on his teammate Kyle Busch.
Well, Denny Hamlin finished 2nd last night. Probably like to move up a spot tonight.
41 laps to go in Darlington. Jimmy Johnson leads Kyle Busch by a little less than half a second.
For those who dare to be great, who search for answers in uncommon places, for those who build dreams 1 RPM at a time, glory is just around the corner. Guts, glory, Ram.
I was the 3rd tree to the left. I even had a line. Watch out for my ribs! But instead of downloading the video of my performance, you download an app. I know. You're close to your data limit and had to choose. So my play lost out to a MicroStrategy app. I don't even know what that is. Well, whatever it is, I hope you like it.
Switch to Sprint, the only network with truly unlimited data.
It's 5:30 a.m. We got a car, a couple cameras. Gonna go have some fun. I can get closer. Here's the true test. Chris, let's see what you got.
Drink NOS, now with Complex 6 for high-performance energy and enhanced mental focus. Find NOS at your nearest Dollar General store.
Got a fresh new start. It's a brand new day. And I got lots of love to give away. It don't matter if it's raining. Nothing can faze me. I make my own.
Remember everything your yard needs every single spring. Just one of the many ways My Lowe's revolutionizes managing your entire home. Sign up at Lowe's.com. Lowe's, never stop improving.
Reed Sorensen driving for Frank Stoddard, a spun coming off turn number 2. He was 30th, 4 laps down, and brings out the 7th caution of the night at lap 331. White car right side of your screen. He might have had some help there.
Maybe.
Jeff Gordon,
24.
Or Sorensen got real loose right in front of Jeff Gordon. Not sure from that replay which. Travis Kvapil gets by on the high side.
Look at that thing just slide forever. See what happens here. Whoops. Kind of hard to say.
I think he just got loose, Darrell.
Let me get the caution here.
Yeah, probably.
So the caution is out with 36 to go.
Well, I still think that the drivers at the front, like Jimmy Johnson, just like his crew chief Chad Canals told him a while ago, we've made our bed now. We've got to lay in it. We've got to stay out.
But this is working, man.
Well, here's our 5-hour energy. Big move of the race. It's not the fastest move of the race, but it might be a game changer. Jimmy Johnson going into economy mode, eco mode, as it were, to save fuel. Will that be a winning strategy? We'll see. On pit road, Burton, Boyer, Newman, Logano, Almirola, and Harvick, among others.
Some games being played down there at the entrance of pit road. The 18 car faked. I think he was trying to draw people down pit road with him. Watch him. He's here. It's like he's going to. I'm going to sneak in here. Maybe not.
Nope. As long as you get back out before you get to Mr. Orange Cone, you're in good shape.
Paul Menard also came in, and so did Carl Edwards. There's Edwards leaving. Four tires and Sunoco race fuel for everybody. 35 laps to go. We did not have our first caution flag in this race until lap 172. The next one was 20 laps later. The next one 40 laps after that. The next one 70 laps after that. And then, Darrell, an epidemic of caution flags. We've had 4 of them pretty much right in a row.
Yeah, well, we know cautions breed cautions. And here particularly, the track is slick. The groove is up there next to the wall. Slip a little bit, somebody get under you, push you up a little bit, you're in the wall. It's tension, man. Right now, you're tight. It's time to go, and everybody's in your way. You're going to run over somebody if you're not careful.
Larry, all this fuel saving now with as many cautions as we have, is it going to matter?
No, I really don't think it is. And I think you're going to see those 3 drivers at the front, Johnson, Kyle Busch, and Denny Hamlin. I think they're going to have a dogfight here. We go back racing.
Hey, boys, happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Yep.
Margaret.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Can't tell you who's going to win it, but it's going to be exciting here. 34 laps to go as we get ready for the restart next time by. 21 cars on the lead lap.
My mom's a great mom, very instrumental in making me the driver that I am and the person that I am.
I can't imagine my mom doing anything better or different than what she did.
Mom's always been there. She's always had a lot of fun coming to the races. Still comes to a lot of them today. I would definitely consider myself a mother's boy. She thinks I do no wrong, so let's just keep it that way.
Happy Mother's Day to all of our wives and mothers.
Oh, yeah, to Stevie, too.
Yeah. As we get ready for the restart, well, Brad Keselowski took a wave around a while ago and now gets the free pass. He's back on the lead lap.
Tell you who that caution was a big break for, Joey Logano on that 20, because he was about to get in trouble after slapping the wall a couple of times, still on the lead lap.
So Jimmy Johnson elects the outside. He and Kyle Busch will bring him down for the restart with 33 to go. Hamlin and Stewart, Biffle and Kenseth, Truex and Busch, Kane and Earnhardt are the top 10.
That outside is good for that momentum off of 2, but if you can stay, if Kyle can stay with Jimmy, might be trouble.
Green flag.
Oh, yeah.
Johnson half a car length advantage. Kyle Busch draws even down into turn number 1, and they slide in there.
Yep, can't hang it.
Well, I didn't mention Tony Stewart in that 14. Look at the run he's going to get on the high side of Kyle Busch. He moves into second.
I tell you what, Tony Stewart has come to life.
Busch third, Hamlin fourth, Matt Kenseth in fifth ahead of Truex and Biffle.
Just think, they had that 14 car in the pit a little while ago with the left side jacked up with clutch issues.
And Kenseth in the top 5. Where's he been all night?
They really got off with Matt Kenseth's car, the 17, about midpoint of the race, but they've been chipping away. Here comes Greg Biffle, our post setter, working on Martin Truex Jr. in the 56. That's a battle right now for 6.
Slip, slide, grip, and go.
Boys, this is when you just let it all hang out. I can just tell you. You've saved up. It's no time to save anything. Now is the time to stand on the gas.
With all these cautions, we've worked a way to where we have 21 drivers back on the lead lap.
Carl Edwards in the 99, 13th, battling with Newman and Boyer. And they were almost 3 wide off the corner. There and in front of them. As Kurt Busch was battling Casey Kane really hard and Greg Biffle, and they were 3 wide for an instant, up in 4.
Right now, Jimmy Johnson's pulling away about 2/10 a lap on Tony Stewart. Stewart's got about 1/10 and a half on Kyle Busch.
You know, a driver that has cracked the top 10 working on Kurt Busch to 51. How about Marcus Ambrose in that 9? He had all types of issues in the early part of the race. Did the wave around. There he is in the top 10.
Told you, Larry, if you just hang around. Whoa, trouble. No, they made it.
Trouble brewing, that was for sure.
I'm telling you. I got to quit watching turn 1.
Fans on their feet. And why not? 29 laps to go. How about those 3rd and 4th place Joe Gibbs cars, Matt?
Dave Rogers, Mike, told Kyle Busch we are now on our window. We should be good to go on fuel. The problem is Kyle doesn't have the handle. The car has now gone to the loose side. Meanwhile, his teammate Denny Hamlin in his mirror, he told his crew chief Darian Grubb that something feels amiss with the steering or steering box. It just does not come back where it needs to when he's in the middle of the corner.
2 Chevrolets at the front of the field, Johnson and Stewart.
You know, we've seen both these guys, Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart, run the really low line through 1, 3, and 4. Right now, Johnson's up next to the wall. Tony's looking at that bottom line, and it closed the gap a little bit.
And Darrell, their last 3 laps, they have run identical lap times on the stopwatch.
Yeah, 42, 42, 29, 42. Kyle right there with them with a 49, and his teammate at a 50.
Well, the big difference between them, Tony Stewart's already been to victory lane a couple of times this season. Jimmy Johnson has not. However, Johnson's won here, and Tony Stewart, 19 trips to Darlington, no checkered flag.
The storylines with those 2 drivers right there. We know Jimmy Johnson would love to be the driver to deliver Rick Hendrick that 200th win. And then, as you mentioned, Tony Stewart, only racetrack outside of Kentucky he's never won a Sprint Cup Series race at.
There's 2 things you can think about. Jimmy Johnson wants to win a race. Tony Stewart wants to win at Darlington.
Well, the motivation meter is pegged for those 2, and they are pulling away from Kyle Busch by about 0.2 of a second a lap. 25 laps to go in Darlington. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
I'll take this. It's Mother's Day, a day to thank me for all the little things, like being the only one who knows how to turn on the dishwasher, not saying I love you in front of all your friends, and always finding everything for everyone. Happy Mother's Day, family. You love me.
You really are the best.
Can't argue with you. Now, join me while I eat cake and receive gifts.
Celebrate Mom. Buy any KFC 10-piece meal or larger and get a free double chocolate chip cake.
Whoa! Dad, where'd you get that?
Oh, you won't believe what just happened.
Don't tell me you got the last Diet Dew.
Yeah.
I love the taste of Diet Dew. What do you want for it? Deal.
Diet Mountain Dew. Yeah, it tastes that good.
Hey, hotshot. Meter's running.
Agents, I'd like you to meet Casey Kane.
Hey, nice fire suits.
Custom tailored.
Just like the personalized coverage you can get by working with a farmer's agent. Oh, no. No, no. Oh, fire suit. Oh, hey, Case. Are you done?
We are insurance.
We are farmers. Bum, ba, bum, 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 bum.
When you have cable and your picture freezes, you get irritable. When you get irritable, your work suffers. When your work suffers, the wrong man is convicted. When the wrong man is convicted, he has time to think. When he has time to think, he thinks about you a lot. And when he thinks about you a lot, your house explodes. Don't have your house explode. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
There's the lead, Jimmy Johnson to Tony Stewart from our aerial coverage from DirecTV. Only DirecTV gives you dedicated driver channels, so you never miss a second of your driver's race. Call 1-800-DirecTV. 20 laps to go. In the Bojangles Southern 500 at Darlington, Jimmy Johnson leading Tony Stewart by 0.6 of a second. Kyle Busch 1.8 back, then Denny Hamlin and Matt Kenseth the front 5, then Martin Truex and this battle. Casey Kane and Carl Edwards for 7th.
And Mike, you've been out here 3.5 hours. I mean, driving hard tonight, and now you've got to be at your very sharpest, at your very best, if you're going to pull off this win.
I think one thing going on right here, Carl Edwards in that 99, one of about 8 drivers that came to pit road on that last caution. Much fresher tires than Casey Kane. He's just going to take the spot away from him.
Edwards trying to seal 7th spot and does.
Tell you what, some of those guys that did come in and take tires, if we should get a caution.
How about Kurt Busch in that 51, driving for James Finch's unsponsored team? Hasn't had great pit stops, but he has driven his heart out tonight to stay in the top 10.
Last week, he had a car that could have won last week, and he got spun out late in the race. Too bad there, but he's done a whale of a job tonight. I really am impressed with the drive he's made. And he started right when the green flag dropped. I saw a car, a red and white car going up the outside, passing cars left and right.
Yep.
It was Kurt.
Now, with 17 laps to go, even with all these cautions, we're still hearing that Chad Knaus is telling Jimmy Johnson possibly save some fuel because, Darrell, we're looking at the lap times. We've talked about it. They've not slowed down that much. Now, remember, Tony Stewart, on that same caution that Jimmy Johnson pitted, Tony came back to pit road 3 laps later and topped off with fuel.
Jimmy can't. What's he going to do? I mean, you're in a box. It's like they said, we made our bed. You can't back off. You can't you can't slow down and let the 14 take the lead. So you got to go hard and hope you make it.
Carl Edwards had a chance at Martin Truex that time for 6th place. Twelfth place, Clint Boyer, Ryan Newman, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kevin Harvick.
Ryan Newman and Clint Boyer, the 39 and the 15, they both, like Carl Edwards, came to pit road on that last caution as well and put 4 tires.
tell you that those lap times up there, those first 3 cars, and Kyle Busch that time has really started to catch back up, and now he's the quickest car by quite a bit out of those first 3 guys. And all of a sudden, that car that was a little loose is tightening up. Kyle Busch is coming to the back up to the back of Tony Stewart.
He is, Darrell. He's gaining on the 2 leaders. It'll be 13 laps to go as they come around. And Dale Jr. goes past Newman and moves up to 13.
But I think this makes such a statement as we got
Truex got in the wall pretty hard there, Larry.
Yeah, right now he's in the 6th position. He's under fire from Carl Edwards in the 99 as Carl goes to the outside of Casey Kane, taking advantage of those 4 fresh tires. Now with 13 to go.
Here's what happened to Truex.
Yeah, that's just, you know, that's a driver that I think is a little frustrated and just maybe overdrove his car a little bit. He's obviously not happy with the call they made to bring him into pits, and he's just really, I think he's letting his emotions get it to him a little.
And right now, the fastest car on the racetrack is Denny Hamlin in 4th place, trying to gain ground on the front 3 of Johnson, Stewart, and Kyle Busch.
It's almost like Tony Stewart caught Jimmy Johnson, but now Johnson has picked it back up. But here's a guy that is picking it up is Matt Kenseth in that 17.
He has, Larry, and I've been watching his lap times. He's fast, but he's going to run out of laps. Or unless those other guys run out of gas.
11 to go.
I don't think Tony has to worry about that. I'm not sure about Jimmy.
Johnson has opened it up now to almost 9/10 of a second on Stewart. In 13 Sprint Cup races, Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart have had 1-2 finishes. Jimmy having the edge, and Kurt Busch has bounced off the wall pretty hard in turn 4.
Didn't slow him down, though. These cars are just unbelievable how tough they are. You can see here he gets up there. He's pushing really, really hard. That's not that bad. If he doesn't do it again.
And he did off turn 2. A little bit.
Yeah,
just a little.
Yeah, he readjusted the rear spoiler.
9 laps to go. The lead stays 9/10 of a second. Kyle Busch now 1.4 back. Hamlin and Kenseth no longer gaining ground. It's a 3-horse race.
No, there's some games being played now.
There he is, but you just think about those 2 drivers that are running 1-2. That's the 2 drivers that represents our last 7 championships in Sprint Cup. The last driver to win a championship, aside from those 2, Kurt Busch back in 2004.
I'm not sure that Smoke didn't back up just a little wee bit here to maybe try to save a little fuel on his side too. He's slowed down a little bit the last several laps.
And Kyle Busch gained 2/10, so he's now just 1.1 off the lead and getting pretty close on Tony Stewart here with 8 to go.
Yeah, Kyle's car has really come alive.
Oh, Kurt Busch in the wall again.
Yeah, he's got the right side out. He's worn the right side out.
All the way around that corner, and whoa, there he goes, and in the fence.
Oh, no.
He's wrecking. We stay green.
He's got a right rear tire down.
And he's around. Kurt Busch.
No, and there goes Newman off the bumper of someone.
And Ryan
He's
Newman
in the wall.
Bring out the caution flag with just 7 laps to go.
Kind of thought that we may see another caution.
There is some drivers just licking their chops right now. I would say in particular Matt Kenseth, Martin Truex Jr., and Carl Edwards.
Well, Truex has been in the wall, but I think Matt Kenseth, he's sitting in a pretty good shape.
Jimmy Johnson did not want to see that. Poor Kurt Busch trying to hold on to that car. He's used up the whole right side of it, just trying to get it to the finish line. And here's what happens.
He gets in the wall. And then
okay, not so bad.
This is the end where it gets him, though. I think I don't know if he had a tire down or what, but right here the car goes crazy. Now it's in the wall and it just stays in it.
And what a run he had tonight for roughly 350-something laps.
And around he goes, and you saw Newman sliding by fast.
Yeah, somebody ran in the back of Newman and spun him around.
And Newman has to come to pit road. And we've got some more takers. Kevin Harvick is in. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is in. Jeff Burton, Almirola, and Keselowski. All cars near the back end of the lead lap. Have nothing to lose by stopping.
They're banking on some green-white checkers, I think.
Now there's Newman right of your screen. I think that's Almirola behind him.
Yeah, I know somebody got into him and turned him.
Eric Almirola got in the back of Newman.
You can see tires starting to blow out on that 39 car, and then he hits the inside wall hard.
That's a big lick. Hurt Newman in the points. Sitting there in about, what was he, 13th with a win.
But he's going to make it to the finish.
Long distance through the corners like we talked about. Yeah, I mean, you just get in soft so you pick up the throttle early. But that's about as good as I think I can do.
Boy, I tell you what, I'd be sweating. I'd be sweating this restart. You're going to go into, he's probably going to take the outside. You're going to sail it off into one. You're going to have Tony Stewart right alongside of you. You've got to beat him off turn 2.
And if there's been any driver that has had a car tonight that works the bottom good, it has been Tony Stewart in that 14.
The only thing I'm not sure about is his clutch. If he can get through the gears all right, that's the only thing I'd be worried about if I was Tony Stewart.
Well, we could be one restart away from the checkered flag here in Darlington, Chris.
And Mike, the track that the drivers hold in high regard, and two guys with the 8 championships between them, and 13 previous times Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson have finished 1-2 with each other. Jimmy having 6 wins, Tony Stewart having 6. What do you make of this restart?
Wow, this is intense. You know, we talked earlier, Tony Stewart got his car dialed in, had some problems on pit road with his clutch, has charged back through the field. I think he's been saving a little bit of something, Chris. Maybe he gets pinched down on the inside. Jimmy Johnson takes the outside on this restart, but I still like Tony Stewart's chances.
How much of a player Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, those Joe Gibbs Toyotas at 3 and 4?
You've seen these guys. They're going to get side by side. Cars get loose. I wouldn't rule out anyone inside that top 5 or 6 getting a chance to win this baby.
All right, in the meantime, Mike, hanging on 199 for Hendrick Motorsports, and Jimmy Johnson with that chance. What he has said before about that, what messes with my head is when we've had chances to do it for Rick Hendrick and we haven't been able to, and he has that chance.
And look at him, still working that thing, turning it off, saving any gas he can, doesn't want to leave anything to chance. That shows you how hard these are to win. You've got to do everything as a driver. Do pit road perfectly. Switch your engine off if you want when it's time to. And that man there, Rick Hendricks, hanging on that 200th win.
They have laid out the strategy. It's been 17 races. We'll see if it happens. And of course, Jimmy looking for his first win of this season.
He picks the outside. This restart will be the key to see if they can get that 200th win.
Rick just got here. He just flew in earlier. He'd been had to go to a wedding, and he just got here after the races started. And this is, I don't want to bring it up, but it's kind of just almost like Martinsville, sitting there with the you got the thing won and a late caution.
In the top 10, 3 Chevys, 3 Fords, 4 Toyotas. Johnson and Stewart on the front row. Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin will restart from row 2.
You know what's going to make the difference? Somebody, either Kyle's going to push Tony Stewart on this start to get him going, or else Denny Hamlin's going to push Jimmy Johnson to get him going. But you can bet you there's going to be some contact on this restart.
21 cars on the lead lap. Kurt Busch brought out the caution. He was running 12th. Brian Newman was 16th. We're going to go one more lap under caution. Some debris on the front straightaway. I see a piece of metal debris just about 200 feet past the start finish line that's going to have to be picked up.
And this just adds to the anticipation and the excitement of this restart.
Well, as much as we've been watching Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car saving fuel, it's not what he wanted to see as a lap added.
Well, it really, I mean, it's a lap under caution versus one under green. So now we're on green, white, checkered. Don't like that.
No. Didn't think you would.
Darrell, just think, you race all night long, 500 miles for this chance, and these guys are going to be desperate. This is a win in the Southern 500 at Darlington. Gas is an issue. Tires are an issue. Some of the guys back 6th, 7th, 8th have fresher tires. Can they charge up through there? This is going to be intense.
I think that's all. I don't know what's going to happen at the back or the middle, but I do know that the big deal is going to be at the front.
Well, some drivers, some teams are worried about fuel. Kyle Busch is thinking about food.
I'll take something really good to eat after this thing's over. I'm starving.
I'll just chew you another piece of double mint. You'll be all right.
2 laps to go. 3rd green, white checker finish at Darlington in this track's history. Jimmy Johnson trying to hold off Tony Stewart and score his first victory of the season. This will be our first attempt at a green-white checker. If the leader comes around and takes the white flag under green, the next flag ends the race.
I don't feel real good about that happening.
Headed for the restart zone.
Here we
green flag. And Johnson's on it. Stewart's going to have to deal with Hamlin into the corner, and Truex right there with Kyle Busch. 3 wide into the corner. Ambrose makes a 3-wide pass into turn 1 as Jimmy Johnson scoots away.
And Denny Hamlin in at 11 got a great run off turn 2. He takes the 2nd spot away.
I think Tony may have had a little problem on that getting through the gears, Larry.
Stewart sits 3rd. The battle right behind him. Kyle Busch settles in front of Truex. White flag, 1 to go.
Got enough gas to make it?
Oh, yeah, we're in good shape on gas.
He'll make it around, but will he get there first?
Oh, yeah, he's got a nice, he's got a comfortable lead. He's in good shape.
Jimmy Johnson sails off into turn 3. Hamlin is going to have to deal with Stewart for 2nd. Hendrick Motorsports 200th Sprint Cup victory belongs to Jimmy Johnson in the Southern 500.
There you go, Mr. Rick. Got you one.
Denny Hamlin 2nd, Tony Stewart 3rd, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex the top 5.
Great job by Jimmy Johnson. And Rick, I know what a relief that is, buddy.
Now I can tell the story. For 16 races, 4 tractor trailers full of special souvenirs to celebrate this 200th victory have been traveling the country racetrack to racetrack unbeknownst to Rick Hendrick. Hendrick Motorsports employees have had to hide this from him for months so that tonight they could finally have this celebration. Jeff Hammond.
Rick Hendrick, it's been a long time coming, boss, but hey, everybody's come up and give you congratulations, but it's finally happened, and it's happened here in Darlington. 200 wins.
Man, you know, first of all, I just left a wedding with my best friend, Steve Lemontani, my doctor. Congratulations to him. I want to thank all the drivers and all of the crew chiefs and you and Darrell and Jeff Bodine and everybody else. I can't believe we won 200 of these things. I can't believe it took this long after 199. And I want to remember all those folks we lost and everybody that helped this thing happen. And Brad Paisley's in his bus on the way here. We're going to have a big party.
It's going to be a party for sure here tonight. But again, I never see you have much emotion on top of this box. I seen you walking up down pit road before the end. It looked like it was just like you had to get away. You had to walk off the tension.
I had to get away. I mean, I just couldn't. I was just. They said we were going to make it, but, you know, I don't believe them. You know, everything's happened backwards for us, but we've run so good this year and then had such bad luck. But I want to thank the fans for supporting us all these years, and I can't believe, you know, this is a big deal for all of our people. Linda, I just left you, baby. I love you. I'm sorry you weren't here, but man, you know, I'm kind of numb, but I'm glad it's over. I think we're going to win a few more now, but just the Jimmy Lowe's, all our sponsors, you know, people have been with us forever. I know I'm taking a long time. I hope it's okay.
Hey, you can get 200 wins. It's okay, but go celebrate.
And, you know, we think about all the ones we lost, and I'm thinking about Chris tonight. And I want to tell him that when we put our hats on backwards for our guys, we're putting our hats on backwards for his son, too.
We appreciate that. Go enjoy yourself, sir. Well earned, guys. Back to you.
Thank you, Jeff. Rick Hendrick and the hundreds of employees of Hendrick Motorsports that have carefully planned this celebration for such a long time will finally get to enjoy it, and they'll get to do it at the granddaddy of all NASCAR races, the Southern 500. Jimmy Johnson wins by 0.8 of a second over Denny Hamlin.
We welcome you back to Darlington Raceway, and one of the pillars in the sport, Rick Hendrick and Hendrick Motorsports, as we celebrate with Hendrick Motorsports on our Sprint post-race show. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. Five-time champ Jimmy Johnson gets Hendrick to 200, and Matt Yoakum is there for the celebration.
Back in June of 2001, Rick Hendrick got his 100th win with Jeff Gordon at Michigan on Father's Day weekend. And a big hug from his driver. Special moment as they record win number 200. And what better place and more special place than NASCAR's oldest super speedway and the Southern 500. This is a special one, Jim.
Oh, without a doubt. You gotta love that man. He just said 200's great, but let's go get 250. So it tells you where his head is. I love it. Oh man, what a day. Just a very fast race car. I gotta thank Chad and everybody at Hendrick Motorsports for an awesome race car. Cobalt Tools Chevy was bad fast. We had a little pit thing that went awry earlier in the race, but we still worked our way back up there and you know, had a great race car and won the race.
It's the Southern 500. You had a Hendrick car battling you for the restart. Tony Stewart, 2 champions, and then you had throwing the fuel mileage, a lot of different drama coming down near the end.
And it really was a lot of drama. And in a fuel mileage race, when you see that 14, you always second guess yourself because you're so good at it. I was really concerned, you know, and I was just pacing myself in the mirror on what he was doing. Hope that I'd saved enough. I felt like I did a good job, and certainly did, but there were a lot of hungry drivers out there, including Tony and Kyle, and a lot of guys that want to win this race. So it's very special to me. This race is so special, so great. Darlington is an awesome racetrack, and just pumped, man. Happy Mother's Day to my mom, my wife, mother-in-law, all the mothers out there. Tomorrow's going to be a nice day just to chill out and savor this great victory.
So many iconic names have pulled their car into victory lane here at Darlington. Jimmy Johnson does it a second time.
Chad Canals with obviously the call on the fuel, saving fuel, how much it helped. Tony Stewart on the radio saying that he had fuel problems in the restart on the front stretch having an effect. But for Rick Hendrick, he's done a lot of nice things for a lot of people that you don't hear about, including a lot of us here at Fox Sports. And for Jimmy Johnson and Hendrick Motorsports, it was worth the wait. Here in Darlington, Jimmy to victory lane, and Rick Hendrick celebrating 200 wins in Cup. Our aerial coverage here in Darlington provided by DirecTV, and that's the victory celebration for Jimmy Johnson. 56th Cup win for him, alone on the list, 8th all-time, moving ahead of Rusty Wallace, and a big 200 for Hendrick Motorsports. Tony Stewart, who never led in this race, but had a chance late in the race to hunt down Jimmy Johnson, congratulating Jimmy and Team Hendrick, and our Steve Burns caught up with Tony Stewart.
Well, Tony Stewart, you guys had to overcome a lot tonight. Did you run out of fuel on the final restart?
Yeah, I did. It was, I had hit the fuel pressure light had went down, or the light was blinking when we got the one to go, and so I had to go down to the apron, and it caught on the back stretch, but then we got just past the center 3 and 4, and the light was down to 20 pounds again, so it laid down all the way down the front stretch, and we lost second because of it, but I'm pretty happy to come out of here with a third tonight, and really proud of Rick Hendrick and everybody at Hendrick Motorsports. They deserve this 200th.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, bud.
Checking points, and we've been running the results of this race on the crawl, but Greg Biffle, your points leader, coming in, tightens up a bit with Matt Kenseth just 2 behind, but Jimmy Johnson skyrocketing up, and after all that he's been through from the start of the year with the Daytona 500, the appeal, in excellent position getting that win.
That shows you why they won 5 championships in a row. They've overcome a lot to be in contention for not only making the chase, but they've got the speed in that car to win this championship again.
With Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers in this. In the 51, you see Kurt Busch as the race winding down. This brought out the last caution here. Ryan Newman in the car right behind, 39.
Ryan gets hit when he slowed down to avoid Kurt Busch. Really, that wasn't Kurt's fault as much as anything. It just was a racing accident late in the race. He spun out. Another crew member, one of Ryan's crew members, comes over to Kurt Busch's team and starts voicing his displeasure, and then on pit road, watch this.
Yeah, this is after the race is completely over. The drivers aren't necessarily involved, although we did see Newman go over and talk to Kurt Busch. Remember, it was a year ago after the race, one of those in your face with Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. This time it's team members of Kurt Busch and Ryan Newman.
That's just Southern 500 emotion. Like you said, we saw it last year with Harvick and the other Busch, and now tonight the crew guys are getting into it. The drivers had a conversation after the race, Ryan and Kurt, and they seemed fine with what happened. Then the crews got involved.
Meanwhile, Michael Denny Hamlin finishes second behind Jimmy Johnson, just ahead of Tony Stewart, and Steve caught up with Denny.
Well, Denny Hamlin finishing second tonight. Describe your evening.
Yeah, relatively uneventful. I mean, we got a Darlington stripe. I try not to get one here, but sounds like it's getting exciting over there in turn 4. But for me, proud day for our Sport Clips Toyota. I got to thank them. You know, second isn't bad, but just didn't have quite the car we needed to win today.
Good finish. Thanks, Steve.
Tonight on Fox, and we hope you enjoyed a funny race here because we didn't have a caution through the first 150 laps, so we had 7 or 8 over the last 200. Late local news and the Finder.